Hotep, Hotep, ATM Hotep. Hopefully, everybody can hear me and see, can hear and see well without any glitch, any hitch. I want to say ATM Hotep to everyone who's tuned in, all 8,000 of you. We go live and 8,000 people just come and listen and chime in and want to hang out. All right. This is your brother Wu Jiao, Menebedi Ma'at, Rini Wu Jiao. My name is Wu Jiao. And actually, just wanted to kind of go live before it got too late. And so this conversation is going to basically be a continuation of the conversation last night. And I just want to, drill the points home from the conversation last night. So kind of act as a recap and as a continuation. So if you were tuned in last night and hung out with us, or if you saw it in the archive before now, and if you have some thoughts on the subject matter, which is, the title is Black or White, Who Cares? And this is definitely related to, more specifically the ancient Egyptians, because yesterday there were arguments and live streams going on that were still talking about whether Egyptians were black or not and things. And so, so also last night, I went live, we all went live to discuss, that same subject, but in a sense of who cares and why is it a who care moment? Like, who cares? So we discussed that. So if you checked it out, or if you hung out with us, and you had some thoughts on it, feel free to join the panel. So I'm going to post a link, the panel link in the chat. And there it is. So now last night we had, I always post a link, I always post a link most of the time. I won't say always. Most of the time I post a link because I want to engage in a conversation. And out of all the times that I've done that, last night we had someone who trolled the channel, clicked the link because nobody else was clicking the link. So I guess the troll said, well, hey, if nobody else is going to speak and click the link, I'll click the link. And, it ended up being a proselytizing moment where the person came on and was trying to wash us in the blood of the Lamb and make sure we were sanctified and saved, that we were redeemed, and that we will resurrect on the right-hand side of God, and that, we're saved. So, yeah, that's what happened last night. It didn't last long. I try to be patient with things like that. Well, not with things like that, but I try to be patient because I want to make sure that, if someone is doing something, that they're doing what they're doing. I don't want to make any assumptions. All right, so click the link, and I'm just going to kind of warm up and run my mouth for a little bit, warm up a bit. So yeah, click the link if you want to participate in this discussion. So, and if you're listening now and you weren't tuned in last night, then the gist of the conversation was that the argument about the Egyptians being black or not is really a setback at this point in 2021. To argue over that right now is really going backwards. That argument has been addressed and spoken of for the past 50 years at the least, since the 1970s, at the UNESCO conference or symposium, Cairo symposium, and then everything in between. And people are still arguing whether Egyptians are black or not. And by doing that, there's little to no focus on the genius of the ancient Egyptians. The genius. What did it take? What allowed them? What in the culture allowed them to do what they did and create the civilization that they did to the point where it has contributed so much to the world to this day, whether we realize it or not. And I don't think enough attention has been paid into that, into about the genius. Everybody's worried about the skin color, whether they're black or not, And so beyond the fact that Egypt is in Africa, on the continent of Africa, then in ancient times and still now, it didn't, nobody, took a saw and sawed away Egypt and broke it away from the continent of Africa like Madagascar is. And that's funny though. Madagascar is considered an African country, but it's not attached to Africa, the continent. That's strange. Have you ever thought about that? Look at a map. You see that big island off to the side? That's not exactly all on the continent, but it's considered Africa though, an African country. Maybe some people will argue that. But anyway, who cares? Now, so what I want to make clear though, I made it clear last night. I'm gonna say it again tonight because people will try to make something out of nothing. In no shape or form am I saying that who the ancient Egyptians were is not important. Who they were are very important. But it's the whether they're black or not, which is who cares? It's irrelevant at this point. And we discussed that last night, so I don't want to, kind of rehash the entire conversation, but we gave the reasons, rationale, logic behind all of that. And I did an exercise last night in real time. And the takeaway, or what I was trying to share and perhaps teach, was how taxonomy works, how to categorize things, how to group things, and what does it really mean when we do it? Because we all do it innately. It's in us to do it, and we all do it. But something that we all do that is so normal, so just every day, every hour-ish type of stuff, we take it for granted and we don't pay attention. But yet we do it. We just do it. Like every adult human who walks, we forget, we take for granted that, walking or even running, it takes every one steps at a time. One step forward, your left, your right, your left, right, left, and all the muscles involved, the tendons, the ankles, your calf muscle, everything involved with just walking. And we do it so much, we don't really think about all that until an injury happens or we have some sore muscles. Then you think about it. You're like, oh man, I pulled a muscle at a Charlie horse. Charlie horse. I meant to look that up. Charlie horse. Why they name the horse Charlie when you pull a muscle? Did a famous horse couldn't run a race anymore named Charlie or something? I don't know. I'd be thinking about stuff like that. But nah. I know somebody probably gonna Google it right now and say, nope, Charlie is made for the actual, the way that the muscles cramp up and tighten up and the cells, the muscle cells, due to a lack of protein and amino acids and the lactate and da. Acronym is Charlie, CH. That's the chemical name, CHARLIE. Carbon, hydrogen. What's A? What's the element with A? Argon. Now let me stop. All right. Anyway, I'm just rambling right now, just trying to warm up the channel. So listen, the link is in the chat. It's pinned to the top. So feel free to click the link to come on in and engage in the conversation. So again, if you are tuned in now, you're just tuning in, welcome, ETM Hotep. Peace to you. Peace to the chat. I see we have Mika, Phi Lightentis, Brother Sutek. Who else do we have in the house? Niwa Sarah, Google Scholar, and that's all who I see is chatting. So, if you're in there, give a shout out. All right. At least give a shout out now. Um, all right. So the link is there. What else we have going on? Oh, and we don't make a habit of saying announcing because it's kind of new. We activated, but the super chat is there. So if you want to support by way of the super chat, then hey, the super chat is there. It highlights your question, your comment. Maybe we'll start doing that. Maybe we'll just answer people's questions who use the super chat. How other YouTube channels do. We're just gonna answer only the super chat. We're gonna put you right into the front line of answer questions, and we'll answer all questions in the super chat. Even if we don't know the answer, we'll still answer. Why? Because pseudo reigns supreme. We can make it up. And we have the master pseudoist just blessed us with his presence. This brother comes out of Pseudoville, Texas, by way of Pseudo, Pennsylvania. And he has about 3 books. He has Pseudo Volume 2 that is quoted a lot. Now I'm just saying, what's going on, Asar?
Nothing much. I just finished downloading my 2nd degree PhD in chemistry from pseudo.com.
Pseudoisms.com.
About to go apply at Harvard for the upcoming spring semester.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm just kind of warming it up. We had a little doozy conversation last night about the same title, Black or White, Who Cares? And basically the context behind that is also last night there were 2 live streams going on at the same time where people were still arguing over whether the Egyptians are black or not. And so, the spirit behind this question is when we do that year after year after year after year, decade after decade, at this point, everyone loses focus on the genius of the Egyptian culture. Like people are not actually studying the culture. It's just a roadblock right there as were they black or not. And so we kind of, addressed that a bit. And I did an exercise. So exercise in grouping, that there's an innate formula or rules to when we categorize things and group things. This group versus that group, there has to be an inclusion rule and an exclusion rule. Like, how do you include items in this group, and what excludes them? And I did that to show that grouping of human populations in ancient time was different than how we group human populations today, predominantly. And so a lot of our grouping criterias and rules today don't apply in the consciousness of the people in the past. And so it's it's not but it's unfair to group the Egyptians based on our modern social construct of race, black, white, and things like that, when they didn't have that in their consciousness. And culture was king. So that's what we emphasized last night, culture being king, and then all the elements of culture, even to this very day on the continent. So, I went through that exercise, and then I shared a social media experiment I did for 2 years, over a 2-year span. And I did it live on last night as well. And like the 2-year experiment on Facebook, the same results, So tonight's part 2. I'm just trying to revisit and continue the conversation. So I don't know if you had a chance to check it out, but we were just going in on that last night.
Yeah, I just was still on the neck. I just finished doing a presentation for our brothers and sisters out there in Brazil.
Oh, right. Dr. Duarte, right?
Well, no, this is Dr. Who's putting this on? Dr. Katushkia or Be'era.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I was part of a panel of scholars presenting on the conceptual. Well, I think I'm the only one who did like the actual relations between Kemet and Congo, but you were others were either talking about Kemet or talking about Congo.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so that's what you walked into. This is part two. So, everybody pretty much agreed last night with the points that I was walking through. Um, and I think Inyame, who's here now, Hotep to you. Inyame,
Hold up, peace.
peace. Yeah, I think Inyame was the sole disagreeable one last night. Nah, he was nah. I actually was saying last night that he didn't even we didn't even disagree. It's just a change in how we describe these things. And so I just kind of want to revisit that because it's just something that's fundamental, but I think people take for granted and so we miss it. Like I said, walking, you know, we walk so every day and all day every day, we just take it for granted. Something that we do and so normal that we just take for granted. So the idea of categorizing things and grouping things is just so normal that we really don't know how it's done. Like what's the value in it? And so anyway, so Nyame, I know yesterday you said you wanted to revisit it. So really, I did this part two right now, hoping that you would kind of expound on. Well, I don't even know if you still think you disagree with anything right now, but maybe you can elaborate.
No, I don't. No, I don't necessarily disagree, but I would like you to, just continue to elaborate, and I'll let you know at what point I would disagree with what you're saying. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. All right, so real quick, I'm gonna be as quick as I can. I I will revisit. Oh, let me see if I could share. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna share my screen again, and I'm gonna go over the quick example I used yesterday. Not the social experiment, but my first example when we spoke.
Okay. And at some point, I'd like to read a little passage from a book called "The African Diaspora: A History Through Culture" by Patrick Manning, and this the title of this little section would be called "The Macro Culture of Civilization," and it's kind of what you were talking about yesterday. I think you would agree with what 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 I would read after you're done.
Okay. All right, no problem. Um, all right, so I'm going to kick this off like this. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. So y'all give me one hot second.
I'm gonna
I'm
mute
gonna
out.
share this. Okay. All right, let me pin it so everybody on YouTube land will see. We all see the same thing. All right. So here's my trusty whiteboard. So again, a shout out to everybody in the chat. If you just tuned in, this is your brother Wujao, and everybody can introduce themselves. We had brother Rasan Zane, Sonet Emiket, and brother Asar Motep on the panel. I just don't want to do a whole long introduction, so I'm just naming everybody. But feel free to click the link. The link is in the chat. Because last night these conversations I want to engage. It takes too long for the lag between Zoom and YouTube to really wait for answers. So come on in. You don't have to, have your camera on or anything like that. It's no requirement. We don't have a camera mandate going on. So, all right. So I have on my screen. So far I have identity. So we were talking about identity, and when it comes to human identity, it is a function of categorization. You know, we have one aspect of categories under ontology, and then we have another form of categorizations under taxonomy, where you have this hierarchy. And so human taxonomy categorizations is how we define identity, how we identify populations. Okay, so under that full umbrella, I gave the example of coins, right? So we have coins versus paper or fabric, paper dollars. I just said paper dollars. Now, we can make a distinction between coins and paper dollars, all right, which is why they're both on the screen right now. And so consider this at a level. So if this was a row, this will be a level. Now, when we go down in levels, we're supposed to be getting more and more detailed, and it's more and more exclusionary. All right. When we go up in levels, we should be more inclusionary and less detailed. Saying another way, we get more vague or more general. All right. So upward is more vague, more general. Going down is more specific, more detailed, etc. So if we're going to move down, let me see if I can still see all these. Under coins, we have different types of coins. All right. So we have pennies, which are distinct from nickels, which are distinct from dimes, distinct from quarters. So all four of these are distinct types of coins. So notice how we have coins, and then we have different types of coins. So pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters can be tied together or glued together under the label coin. So this actual label right here serves as a container, and it glues all four of these individual or distinct things into one. So we have this unity and multiplicity at the same time going on here. All right. Coins unifies all four of these. And then we can do paper dollars, and I could put, a dollar bill, $5 bill, $10 bill, 20, 50, and 100. I'm just not going to type all of that out, but I could put that over here to distinguish one from the other, and then unify them under paper dollars. All right, so you all get the idea of going downward will be more detail. Now, under pennies, we can get even more detail by just start naming the dates. Every year of minting, whenever they mint coins, we could place them stretched all the way across. Or even during World War II or I, they had silver pennies, and they had even silver dimes, and all that good stuff. But the point is, the further down you go, you're going to get more specific. So now, to go upward, we can now unify coins and paper dollars with the term money. So this term right here, this word right here, acts as a container and unifier of coins and paper dollars, which itself are two distinct things. Okay, so the takeaway here is, as you go up, you're unifying what's below. As you go up, you're unifying what's below. And the same thing with biological taxonomy is the same thing. We start with life, then we come down to eukarya, then we have the animal or animalia kingdom, chordata, and all those things, all the way down to Homo sapiens sapien. Okay. So that's the gist of how this functions, how this works. Now, no one would argue with me on anything I just said, unless you just want to be a troll. Really. Everybody can see this. I think everybody can understand this and have no problem with this moving from a higher level down into the more details. No problem. Now, also last night, what we did, we went to, did we go here or here? Yeah, we went here. So now we turn to human identity and groupings. Forget coins and money now. So we're not money. We're dealing with humans. All right. So now I had already wrote this out from last night, so I'll just explain it again real quick. And so in human identity, I think we started with black. So I'll just move all this stuff out the way real quick. So we're just gonna focus on black. All right. Don't mind. Ignore all that on the bottom. All right. So we start off with blacks, right? So in the United States, we have roughly 40 million blacks, flat black, just black, quote unquote black. But beneath that, going into more detail, blacks can be distinguished by immigrants, recent immigrants, and African Americans. And I'm just using the name African American and immigrants to identify these distinctions. So African Americans would be those of us who are here as a result of being a descendant of someone who was kidnapped from Africa, brought over here during the slavery, and survived and reproduced, so on and so on, for us to be here. Immigrants are people who came on their own in a more recent time. All right, could be first, second, third generation. So, but the point is, we can distinguish types of blacks in the United States. All right, and the same thing for whites. So white would fit on the level of blacks because the distinction, there's a contrasting here, black and white, and then beneath black there's a contrast or compare contrast between immigrants and African Americans. So I asked the question last night, what makes African Americans African? All right. And because there weren't that many people on the panel, I just took some of the answers from the chat. And so one of the answers given was genetic ancestry. So now what I'm asking is, what is the inclusion rule for African in the name African American? And so when somebody said genetic ancestry, I had to point out that all living human beings on the planet have African ancestry. Can trace their ancestry back to the continent of Africa. So African ancestry applies to all human beings. So therefore, if I stuck it here beside African American, I would be in error. This has to go above even black and whites because black and whites are both human, and this applies to all humans. So I have to put this up higher because this is the unifier of everything below it. And so this is how you place your taxonomic labels and rules. All right. So this is how we know that this cannot apply under African American because it applies to everybody. So we got to go back to the drawing board. So I asked again, what makes what's the African and African American? You can't use genetic ancestry. So what somebody said, well, how about recent African ancestry? I said, okay, well, that's fair. So should I put it here? Because aren't the immigrants have recent African ancestry? So if this applies to both immigrants and African Americans, then I have to put it at the layer above because it includes both. So now I have it placed correctly. But if we're going to say blacks is recent African ancestry, then we have to say whites are older African ancestry. Why? Because both black and whites have African ancestry. All right. So recent, older. Now, back to the drawing board. So
wait a minute, brother. Let me ask you this.
All right.
Are you suggesting that because, okay, first of all, we know that the black people that you're saying have recent African ancestry,
Yes.
also have older African ancestry as well. The only difference between them and white is that their African ancestry, number one, is more traceable, maybe through their DNA or whatever, And then the thing is that the other one, the whites, generally don't identify with their African ancestry.
So let me clarify. I am not talking about identifying because
I
anybody can.
understand. I
Any,
understand, but it is a
but
matter
let me just
because
finish.
we're dealing with classification. This is this is a different conversation. I know, and I'm not trying to change the subject, but I'm just saying, uh, to not mention it is to create a sort of dishonest conversation about what really is going on in the situation. Because whereas the difference between blacks of African ancestry and whites of African ancestry is that blacks of African ancestry, whether recent, ancient, or whatever, we recognize all of our ancestry. Whites, you know, only recognize their ancient African ancestry.
And so what I'm trying to tell you is that this conversation can care less about who acknowledges what. We're talking about what actually what things actually are. So there are people who will not acknowledge that they're animals, that humans are animals as well. But that doesn't negate the fact that all humans are actually animals.
Right. That's fine.
So
That's
yeah,
fine.
so
But blacks. So we're in that spirit. I'm glad you said that. In that spirit,
mhm.
blacks of recent ancestry obviously have older African ancestry as well.
Okay, so let me explain what I mean by older. So when I say recent African ancestry, meaning that the shared genetic and DNA ancestry of blacks is more recent, whereas with whites, their shared genetic ancestry with Africa is further back in time. So in other words, the percentages bear this out. So if the average white person does their deep ancestral
Yeah.
test, DNA testing and things, they're going to find an African ancestry further back in time before they hit Africa, whereas blacks will hit an African shared an African on the continent way more recent in recent years.
Okay, but the only reason I said that is because someone just looking in on this might think that what you're suggesting also is that although blacks of recent African ancestry do have that commonality, that's that suggests that what you see on screen suggests that they don't also share that older ancestry. I'm just making the point.
Okay, no, that's fine. So instead of saying older, I'll change older to distant. I think
Okay.
that will
Okay.
satisfy and remove any confusion. So recent meaning more to the present,
Yeah.
and whites will have a more distant African ancestor. All right, in distant pat as far as time. So I'm only speaking about time.
Mhm.
All right, because people tend to think older
I,
is.
I think what might also help is distant slash more dissipated or something ancestry, African ancestry. Maybe anyway. Go ahead.
Okay, well
Let
you
me.
can
Yeah,
you could add that word in your
yeah,
mind.
yeah, yeah. All right. Okay.
I'm gonna
All
leave
right.
it right here on the screen.
Yeah, all right, brother.
All right. So okay, so here's the point. So I don't want to move away from the way that grouping actually works. So not only are we discussing the actual content, but it is the method in which this happens, and it's not even something that we have to go to school or get a PhD to do. This is something that we do every day, all day, and we just never focus on it or even paid attention. So again, I'm just showing that if we're going to use genetic ancestry as a criteria for who's African and not, then it becomes have little value because all humans can trace their genetic ancestry back to the continent of Africa. Some are recent and some are more distant. And so that's where the distinction can be made. Distant ones, recent ones. Recent ones are considered black based on the social construct of race. The distant ones are considered whites based on today's social construct race as far as the names, white and black. But on the black side, we can actually make some distinctions. Like I said, immigrants versus African American, at least in the United States, and blacks globally. We can make a distinction of continental versus diasporian. I can have that dichotomy up here as well. So I'm trying not to spell everything out to drive the point home. So so everything I just said is what we discussed last night. And so then after this was all this was pointed out, someone brought up the fact that African Americans have a sickle cell trait, and then African Americans have a certain diet, soul food diet, that people consider soul food diet, and some other things, music, and so on. And those are valid distinctions that are made at this level. So the whole point here, not the whole point, but one of the major things we cannot forget is based on this hierarchy and what's going on. The higher you go, the more inclusionary. The lower you go, the more exclusionary we are, and we get detailed. Okay, so that was the point. That was the lesson from last night. Now let's overlay this with Egypt. So I went back to the title of the show, Black or White, Who Cares? So in ancient Egypt, or ancient times, period, but specifically ancient Egypt, what were their criterias, or what are ancient people's criterias, main criterias for making these distinctions? Because they're all human. They all had two legs. They're all bipedal. Humanity can be, by default, can be separated into two major groups, male and female. All right, that's like off the rip a given, male and female. Got male humans and female humans. I don't think anybody will argue that. Some people may argue today with the onset of transgenders and things like that, but generally male and female. All right. So how did ancient populations, human populations, group other human populations? What were the criteria? And so that was the next thing we got into, and we can all agree that it wasn't based on our modern methods through the social constructs of black, white, which is basically a lookership thing. Now people want to get scientific and not say lookership and say phenotypical. They'll throw that word out there, phenotype. Cool. But how did the ancients do it? I think we moved to this here. And so this is when I said all Homo sapiens sapiens, and then it can be broken down into the two major groups, male and female. And then what are the criterias? And so we have culture, looks, genetic ancestry, continent, country, and tribe. And I had cultural heritage here, but I'll bring it out because I have culture over here. So how do we group human populations? And so each one of these will form a different level, a different row. And what happens is when we have conversations about identity or identifying groups of people, we tend to just blur all of this all together. And we do it to this day, because we'll hear people say black people, white people, but then say Chinese. So they went from two colors to a country, because China is a country and Chinese is more on the country, the national level, the state level. Or they say Asian. So you got black, white, Asian. So you got two colors and then a continent. And so we're very inconsistent with how we identify things. And we all fall victim to this. Okay? So how do we straighten all this out in these conversations? And this is the reason why the conversations never really get anywhere when we talk about who's who on the planet Earth. Who's who? and identity, identifying. The first thing we want to do is what they look like. Are they black? And then we try to make everybody black. King James is black. Buddha is black. Olmec's black. Everybody's black. Anybody who's done anything is black. You know, especially anything great. They're black. But so this is what's driving, you know, the conversations is the level of lookership or looks, and not getting into as far as the population, we're never getting into the culture or what the people actually did or contributed, because we're stuck there. So anyway, I just wanted to give a little recap. Now we went on. I went on to prove everything I just said towards the latter part of last night's discussion. I demonstrated it live. So I'm not going to do that now, but we could pick up from there. And Yami, I know that you said that you wanted to, I don't even know if you're still in here.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm listening.
Okay. To, comment, give any comments on that.
Yeah. I think the ultimate question that begs to be answered is, how do you define us? How do we define ourselves? And this is an age-old question. And what are the things that make us up that are distinctive from every other ethnic group or every other race?
Okay, so let me just pause you right there. That was key, what you just said. So, all right, I just took this away. Let me just do this again. So, identity itself is multi-layered, okay? And we have to be very careful when we have these discussions, whether we're identifying ourselves or others. We have to know what layer we're on, and we have to be consistent by staying at that layer. Because what you just said, you said, how, one of the questions is, how do we identify us? But you mentioned two separate layers. You mentioned race, and then you mentioned something else. I forgot the second thing, but they're on two different layers. So racially, we're black. The social construct of race, we're black. We identified as black, and most of us self-identify as black. So that's a given, but that's not enough for identity, because it's at the level of, still at the level of vagueness. You see, so okay, so let's deal with the layers. Instead of doing it this way, we have tribe still applies. So we have a tribe, for example. We have a national level, which would be country. Then we have continent. So, for example, the example I always use is Kenya, right? Kenya is on the African continent. So all Kenyans are Africans, okay? But not all Africans are Kenyans. So one swallows the other. And this goes to my point of how the hierarchy works. So on a continent, a Kenyan would be African. Country, a Kenyan would be a Kenyan, because the country is Kenya. Now, tribe is beneath country, because now we're getting more specific. In the country of Kenya, they have 42 tribes, distinguished groups or tribes. And so, which tribe are you? And so, example, Luo tribe. So you're distinct from Kikuyu or Maasai, etc. So we have to bear this all in mind when we talk about identity. What is the inclusion and exclusion rule in each of these groupings? And again, the further we go up, the more vague we are. So we call ourselves African American, connected to Africa, but that in itself, the continent is a very vague level. It's high. It's high on the hierarchy, and it's very vague. Africa, like, that's a continent. That's not identity. That is not. That's like somebody committing a crime and then somebody just saying a black person did it.
No, I disagree with that, brother. I disagree with
Okay.
that, and
Okay. So how?
there's a number of reasons why I think you're wrong there.
Okay. Good. Let's. Okay.
And
Explain.
okay, first of all, when you take in consideration what happened to us here in this country, you know, we are, we went through a process by which, after which, we were left reconstructing our identity. Now, if we started, now the process that we went through was an entire process focused on rendering vague our identity. Okay. So we have to start where we are. Okay. And as we develop information, develop data, that identity becomes more clear. Today, we are a little bit more clear about that, although we got some questions still because we have DNA tests that we can take and all that, and it gets us a little bit closer as to, what populations contributed to our genetics and to what extent, and that gives us a genetic picture, and perhaps a direction in terms of cultural um, um, focus that we might want to, you know, zoom in on. But you can't, I mean, if pretty much what it seems like what you're doing here is you're taking a situation where people have been attacked. Okay, black people have been attacked, particularly on in the area of identity, and the very process itself was developed to render vague our identity. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we have to start where we are. Okay. It's like if basically it's like what you're saying is that, you know, we're sitting in the house, watching TV, playing, video games or whatever. Some a-hole comes by, throws gas on the house, burns it up. Okay. All right. Next
Mm-hmm.
thing we know, we're sitting outside, no clothes, no nothing. All we got now left with our house that we've had in our family, like for instance, my family house around the corner, my great grandfather built the house right next door to my grandfather's house that he built. You know,
Mm-hmm.
neither one of those are there anymore as far as the house themselves. And one of them, there's still a little bit of a foundation. At some point, we're going to go back there and rebuild on the foundation. We have to build where we are.
Right.
Even the house next door where there is no foundation, we would still build on that land with a history very much tied to that land and a bunch of memories and all that stuff tied to that land. Okay, so basically, what you're saying is that now as a metaphor here, because we've been burnt down to the ground, you know, um, that we're, it doesn't exist as a family, you know, um, focal point
Mm-hmm.
in terms of our family identity. That simply isn't true. you know, that's not historically true. That's not factual. And you have to be careful about getting so caught up in these concepts that you lose sight of what's important, which is the human element, of our experience. That
Okay.
really is what they've been trying to render vague in the first place. So
Okay. So let me
go
because
ahead, go ahead.
yes, let's break it right there and then keep going. So in everything you just said, I really don't disagree with anything. And I don't think anything you said speaks against what I've been saying, because you're actually describing what must be done, whereas I'm describing what it is, and it's not in conflict with one another. So
There's a
for
difference. There's a
but
difference.
but wait a minute. For example, um, a Kenyan is a Kenyan for a reason, and so
Are
we
Kenyans African?
Yeah, they're on the continent of Africa, making them African. Yes.
Okay. So
So,
if I was Kenyan
mhm.
and that was snatched from me through the slavery process,
Mhm.
and the only thing that was left was that I'm African, am I
Mhm.
supposed to now get rid of the African thing because that's not an identity?
No. That's
That's
not.
what you.
That's
That's what it sounded like you were saying.
no. Actually, on this page, I have the word. Maybe I should make it bigger. But I actually have the word identity on the page. I make it
Yes,
real big. So
but you did say that that's not identity. You said those words.
no, I'm saying no.
You were
What I
talking about
said,
African.
yeah. What I said is a continent is a very vague thing, and that is not enough for identity. It's part of an identity, but it's not enough. You cannot. African means what?
It's,
And
it's
so not everybody
it
on the
means a
continent.
start. It means where to start.
Okay, there you go. So now notice how you word it. So you just worded differently. You said it's a start, whereas I say it's not enough. And we're basically saying the same thing.
No,
I'm
we're
saying
not.
I'm saying okay,
Because
if it's a start, wait.
Okay, go ahead.
If it's a start, you're admitting by saying start that there's more to do, right?
Sure, without a question.
Okay, so we're
But the
saying
way that you're saying is almost dismissal of the very idea of African, which is we got to be careful about that because
well
people are
I'm
watching.
Well, I would just caution you not to read too much into what I'm saying and just listen to actually what I'm saying because I'm not doing that at all. I'm saying that Africa is a very large continent. It is one of the most diverse continents on the planet. And so that is not enough for identity. It's part of it, but it's not enough. And that's why I even said right before you started to speak, I even gave an analogy. I said if somebody commits a crime, you need certain things to identify the criminal. You're not you cannot identify or arrest the actual perpetrator if somebody just gave you a vague description by saying they were black. That's not enough. So I'm taking a real situation. We know this happens all day, every day. Crimes happen. And when a crime is committed where the person is not caught in the act and you have to describe the person who did it and whatnot, you cannot just simply say it was a man or it was a black person. Well, was it male or female? I'm not sure. They were black. Well, are they tall, short? What, do they have a sweatshirt shirt on, red, blue? Like what? You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Africa as an identity is not enough. It stops way short of being identity.
But if
Let
you
me.
look at the
I'm sorry.
people who I'm sorry, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask one question to everyone. Replace Africa with America. So the question would be asked: then what makes an American an American?
Well, 1 second. You can't replace Africa with America because unless you're saying the
In
Americas,
terms
like
of a
all of them. If you're
well,
saying United States as a country, so that
I'm
that would be on a
well, I'm
country level.
well, I'm saying in terms of us, once you leave, once you leave the United States,
Hmm.
no matter what ethnic group you are, you're considered an American outside of the United States. Is that correct?
Yeah. If that's why I wanted clarification. So you're talking about the United States. So let's just put USA. So that would be
Right,
on the country level, right? Okay.
right. So the question I would have to ask is that the same criterion in terms of what makes an African, and what makes an American an American?
Well, see, and I'm glad you said it that way because now I can point out the importance. What you just did, you're mixing the continental level with the country level. So that's why I'm putting it on the screen. The United States of America is a country. Africa is a continent. So so in this example, to kind of keep consistent, an American is equivalent to a Kenyan because a citizen of the United States of America is called for short American. So the American would be equivalent to a Kenyan, not African. Now, unless you want to say how we use it, we say the Americas. We say
Right. I'm right.
yeah. So that's on a continent, but Mexico is in the Americas. Brazil, Chile, and all that. So we have more. That's the Americas.
Right. So
Well,
what I'm
actually,
saying,
South America it would be considered a continent in and of itself, and you got North America, South America.
and see, this is what, and then that goes into what we were speaking about earlier in terms of now culture comes into play. Culture is key because, like you said, all these people can claim to be an American. They live in America, correct? So, what is our distinction from all other Americans?
Right, right, yeah. Okay. Let's get back to that. Like I want
Right. I'm sorry.
I want to come back to that, but I want to finish what Rasan was saying. So
Yep.
so um so again, what I was saying was that Africa, and see, there's no way around this, because that's why I gave the real example that everybody can identify with: a criminal. Like I said, a criminal commits a crime. You're to identify the perpetrator. We're talking identity now. You need a certain level of detail. You can't just say, a man did it or a black person did it. Those are too vague. And so to stop at African, all I'm saying is that Africa, or saying I'm African, is way too vague for identity purposes. Now, if somebody just want to know what continent I'm domiciled on or whatever, then that's the answer for that. Okay, I live on the continent of Africa, and that's a satisfactory solution for that question. But identity, no. Even Africans, even all Africans on the continent of Africa, drill down. They don't say I'm African to each other, because they'll take that as an insult. I mean, all Africans I ever spoke to, if they identify each other as an African, that's an insult, because it's almost like you're brushing them off. Like where are you from? Africa. It's almost like, stop talking to me, get out my face, type of thing.
What is it that when they do say I'm African? What is that about? What's that?
Yeah, they usually say that when they're not in the environment on the continent of Africa, to someone not from Africa. That's how they usually use that. Yeah.
Right.
But that's why I said
it just so happens that tonight, this is our young sister said to me, I'm West African. My family, my parents are West African. Yeah. I said, sister, actually, she said African first. I said, sister, Africa's a very big place.
Okay, so hold on, wait a second, man. How you gonna give that example that you just went through and then not see what I'm saying? I'm saying
no, I understand. What you're saying, you're not exactly saying the same thing, because I would never have said that that's not identity. Because the truth be told, as vague, although it's more vague than other levels of identity that lie under, or that it contains. Because the truth is that it is an identifier, that contains other more specific identities. Is that not true?
Yeah, and that's what I said.
Right.
I said that it is part of, but it's not enough. Nowhere near enough for identity, though. And that's why I used the criminal example, because you're not going to catch a perpetrator by just saying a dude did it. Like, you just can't say that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. You got to describe. You got to get some more. Was he wearing glasses? Have gloves? Pull over, short sleeve. All that. You want to get a description.
Yeah.
For identity, to identify. And so, and that's the thing. Like, even your driver's license, they have you front facing for a reason. Like, it's not blurred. It can't be blurry,
right,
and everything. So anyway, and I'm only talking about the level of detail. And so what's going on here as well, I need to point out, is I just want to remind that there are layers to this, and we have to understand what layer we're on in discussing identity. some layers are not valuable, or put it this way, are not as valuable as others. And so that's what I'm pointing out. The layer of continent is too vague. It's too vague. It's
See,
not.
what you're doing, you kind of slyway doing what I was saying you were doing a moment ago, just now. What you're doing now. See, here's the thing, brother, is that you can't take something that is a container for another identifier, and it's an intrinsic part of that more specific identifier. You can't you can't strip it from it and say the one is more valuable than the other. That's not legitimate, because ultimately one relies upon the other.
Okay, so wait a minute.
In other words,
wait,
if
hold on,
hold on, let me
second.
finish. Let me
All right,
finish.
go ahead.
If you take away, okay, for instance, if you say I'm Kenyan, okay, then that's inherently saying I'm African. Is that not
Exactly. And
okay?
and
So
and wait. I
okay.
you gotta slow down, because you're repeating why I went over this whole penny thing. I actually said that pennies, nickels, and dimes and quarters are sub to coins. Coins is the unifier.
But that's not what you're saying when
Wait,
you
wait,
flip.
wait,
I get that, but you don't have to
wait.
go over this part. What I'm
No,
saying
no, no,
is,
no, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not going to go back over it. I'm saying I've been very consistent in everything I said tonight. And so I said that one contains the other. I actually even said that the further up you go, I said money is a container for everything below. Coins are a container for everything below. So obviously, if I said that about that, then when I go here, of course, Africa is a container for everything below. The
but you,
continent is
I
a
said that.
container.
You did not say that.
No, I did. I said it when I said
No,
talking
you
about the
said it over
coins.
there. What I'm saying, brother, what I'm
Wait,
saying is that
wh-
when you make that comment over here, that's all well and fine. But when you get you have to, when you get over here to the African side, because and I can't really get into the details of why, I think what you're doing can be dangerous, or because right here.
I definitely respect what your opinion, but listen, the reason why I even have money and coins and paper dot all this up on the screen is to show how this example, the principles behind
I
this,
understand that over here.
it applies to this, which applies to this. I've been very consistent, and
Yeah,
that's the reason.
here's the thing, though, brother. Imagine someone just walking in, okay, who didn't see all of that, what you
And that's
just said.
fine.
Okay, so
The
someone who
video
didn't
the
see all
video
that,
has the
and
video
then they
has a
come in and
rewind,
they walk in, and all they hear is Ujau saying,
and that's and
Africa's
that's
not an identity. That's not identity.
and that is a consequence, that is a consequence of when somebody walks in on a conversation already going. That happens, brother. Every day, all day. The
Okay,
YouTube has a rewind button. YouTube, they could play the whole thing, and or they can choose not to. I can't control that. But what I also can't do, which is unrealistic, is to act like every moment of my conversation is the entire conversation. I can't do that. I have to say what I'm saying, and if somebody chooses to come in the middle of what I'm saying and not deal with what I said before, then I can't control that. That's just the nature of conversations. I can't do that. So
good,
you were here though,
but the,
but
but the but the fact
let's
is,
move on
though,
to
brothers, that you are the
wait.
communicator, and I'm just suggesting, and
Uh,
I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean. My point is simply, and I got to go to bed. The point
okay.
is that when you make statements like, regarding Africa,
Hmm.
that's not identity. That creates a sort of schism between what you said over there dealing with coins, as opposed to what you're saying here with African, in that which is on the level of coins,
Okay.
taxonomically.
Okay, so and that's and if that's how you see it, but you were here though, so you're speaking. Even everything you're saying is speaking outside of your knowledge. You're like that's like very in the ocean of speculation, really, because you were here for me to hear the coins and everything like that. So you, as when we deal with just with you, you should be clear on this though,
Yeah, well,
and
see, no,
you know
what made it unclear to me is when you said, see, I might not have taking that position if you had said that's not identity.
Yeah, Africa is not enough for, and so okay, well let's go to my I even gave the analogy. Let's go back to the criminal.
Okay,
Is no, is saying a man did it, is that enough for identity? The answer is no. I mean, let's just, we can save time.
identification, no, but the point, I
Well,
think you're not
well,
making my point. My point that I'm trying to tell you, brother, is that ultimately, you could easily have said all, for everything you just said for coin, you could have cleared it up just by saying the exact same thing for African as
well,
far
that
as
was the point of the coin, is that I am saying the same thing. That's what I'm saying. Like,
all right,
okay,
brother. Okay, I
yeah.
won't I won't I won't,
If
I won't
you,
push it
if
anymore.
you, yeah, okay, all right. If you were, I guess, given this, you would do it differently. I get that. That's fine. But I'm just saying that.
Well, one of the reasons I say it though, brother, to be honest with you, is because I've watched you and I've watched you watch how you've handled
So now we're
the
getting
matter,
now now
the
we're
matter.
getting
Well, you
somewhere.
knew that from the first place, brother.
I'm saying,
Although I respect you when it comes to some of the linguistic stuff, brother, I feel like you have some. I won't get into that right now.
okay,
I think you have.
but one thing, okay, listen, one thing I do know, that although I can respect you disagreeing with how I'm saying it, one thing that you cannot do is refute anything I'm saying.
Refute?
Yeah, you cannot refute anything that I'm saying, that I've said so far.
I don't think my objective here wasn't
No, no,
to refute anything
no,
you
no,
said,
no. I didn't say it
but to
was.
show
I didn't say it was.
how if you frame a discussion a certain way, you can
Hmm.
create confusion
Yeah, but I'm doing my best
about
not to.
identity, which is one of the main things that the white people have tried to do to black people.
Okay, so have you ever considered that you saying what you're saying, by not allowing me to flow, is actually causing confusion?
Uh, by 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 asking you questions about what you said to clarify.
No, 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 no. I'm just saying, whatever it is that we're doing now, do you feel that it's possible that you're the one that's causing confusion?
In what way have I caused it, that kind of
No,
confusion?
I don't know. I'm just asking. I'm just
So in
asking.
other words, what you're
Have you?
doing is you're putting up a hypothetical, against something very specific that I pointed out that does create potentially create confusion, particularly in the way that you have had the discussion over the last few 6 or 7 months.
Well, no, no. I'm saying, like, you pointing out something that I've actually said, and if we rewind it and play it, you'll hear me say, everything I said. That you asking in a way, in how you're interpreting it, it could not be the same interpretation everybody else is getting. And by you asking the way you're asking, you could very well be causing confusion, because I don't think anybody else was confused on anything I said but you.
Well, you don't see me being confused. I'm pretty clear about what you're doing, and the problems with what you're doing. I'm not confused about anything here. You know,
Okay, so let's all right. So let's agree to this, that
mm,
at the on this screen right here, and let me just get this, my trusty arrow. We have Luo here.
mhm,
Okay, Luo is contained by Kenyan,
mhm,
which itself is contained by African,
mhm.
which is self-contained by, if I put something else up here, let's just say Homo sapien sapien. Okay, so Luo are Homo sapiens sapiens. Luo also African. Luo is also Kenyan, and then we're down to Luo. So again, as I've been consistently saying, as you move down the levels, you're getting to specifics. You're dealing with
Mhm.
specificity. As you move from the bottom and work your way up, you're working into vagueness, generalizations,
But
and things like that.
although it may be vague, vagueness does when you place value. The problem comes when you try to place value the way that you did a moment ago.
There's no problem, because I gave the
Brother,
example
how can,
of the
yeah,
criminal.
I was about to I was about to tell you what the problem is, what I think the problem is. How you gonna
Okay.
tell me?
Okay, so no, no, no. You said you said the problem when there's the value. So let me hear what the problem is.
Okay, so the problem is that when you say that when you try to place one as having a greater value or anything like that, which is what you were suggesting earlier, then that creates a false narrative basically. And the reason that it does so is because one is reliant upon the other critically. You cannot have one without the other. Although African is more vague of a concept, more abstract of a concept. It's probably a better way to say it. It is a more abstract concept that is critical to the formation of Luo identity.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Without
so
without that, without that, you would not have Luo
mm-hmm.
identity. You would
Mm-hmm.
not have Kenyan identity. You would not have Luo identity without Kenyan
Mm-hmm.
identity. These are all contained in this goes to the imminent conversation we were having, the other night, dealing with the whole, Ma'atic conversation, or at least dealing with Iman and all that. Ultimately what you have here is the danger philosophically and even in terms of conceptual, well, actually philosophically, what the problem there is that you're placing values on things that are not appropriately viewed in that manner.
Okay, so let me say this. When I say value, it is always relative. So I just, as you were talking, I put this on the screen as well. All right. If we work from the top down, we'll see clearly the vagueness. As you move down, it gets more specific. And as you start at the bottom, you work your way up, it starts specific and it gets more vague. Now, value is dependent, or it's relative. So in identifying a perpetrator of a crime, which level of these that I have on the screen is more valuable? So I have human, and then a man, he's a man. More specific, a white man. More specific, a white man with a red shirt. And more specific than that, a white man with a red shirt and bald headed. So to identify a perpetrator of a crime, which of these statements
Yeah,
are
sure,
more valuable?
sure. One in the context in which you're constructing that question, sure, that is more valuable in terms of information. But in terms of in terms of the
Hold on. I'm gonna go one step at a time. So
identify, but that's a question about
but hold on.
identification.
Wait.
Now, remember you. Remember earlier
No,
you
we're gonna
kind
walk
of
through this.
remember
We're not gonna
earlier
move.
though. Earlier
Hold on,
you.
wait.
Okay,
Let's
go
just
ahead. Go
walk
ahead.
through this. Let's walk
All
through
right.
this. I'm saying I want an answer. Which one out of these 1, 2, 3, 4,
I, I
5?
I answered, brother.
Oh, the bottom one you said, right?
Yes, yes. I
Okay.
said
So all right, now check this out. The bottom one is more valuable
relative to
in
that
relation.
question.
Exactly. And that's why I said value is relative. So relative to my question, the bottom one is more valuable. But notice this, that by saying so, it did not take away the fact that a white man with a red shirt and bald head is not a human. So all of these are still inherent of with each other.
Yeah. The
So
only
there's no
Yeah, but that's
discrepancy.
because
There's no
but
argument.
it wouldn't become an issue unless somehow you said you made some indication that is not valuable at all. You
But I
know,
never but see now, this is what I mean by you should deal with what I actually say versus what you're making up, because
no,
I
I'm not
never
making
said
up anything,
no,
brother.
but I'm saying I never said that African has no value at all. I never said that. I actually said that these are all inherent with each other. I did
Let's,
the whole coin thing to deal with that. What I'm
let's make
saying.
sure before you go any further, brother. Let's make
Mhm.
sure we dealing with not dealing with apples and oranges. What is it, you constructed that thing on that system on the left.
Yep.
You constructed that around a question. You know, now what question on the right? What's the comparable question that you're trying to get to on the right. In other words, what question were you answering down at the bottom there?
Where body smart down here?
Yeah, what was the question there?
No, the question is identity.
Yeah, no, I'm saying right here, the man with the red shirt,
Yeah,
bald head.
identity.
Okay. Identity?
Yeah, I mean, isn't that how you identify someone?
Okay. Yeah, identify. Okay.
Identity, someone's identity, and identifying is the verb. That's what you're doing. But the noun, their identity is a noun. So I mean, if we want if we want to do a language class right quick,
the identity of the man who did the crime was a man
versus identifying the person who did the crime.
All right.
So what is his identity, or what is the perpetrator? Because at the moment we're asking, I don't know if it's a man, woman, whatever. So I'm saying, what is the identity of the perpetrator, sir? And then a person says, well, they were human. That's not valuable to me in relation to what I need. And so the point here that's being missed is it's the principle. African is very vague, and that's not enough for identity. Just like human is not enough for identity, because everybody's a human. All humans are human. So it's like, man, am I going to look for all over the world? No. So like Africa. So am I going to look all over Africa to identify you? Like what makes you and
I disagree with you. I disagree.
Can I say?
Can I speak on this? Wait.
Go ahead.
No, guys, so because you ain't speak yet. I spoke already, so you can go.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, the identity part is centered around the context of the conversation.
Exactly.
So if you're having a conversation, if you ask what the identity of a perpetrator,
mm-hmm.
then the value of the identity you're gonna have to give more in terms of the identity, right? Because you need to know how tall they were, that they were overweight. You need to know, so there's other variables come into play.
Because contextually, that information at the bottom really could be more specific as well.
Yeah, I don't have enough room, so we understand.
No,
I
understand.
I'm not going to sit here.
No, brother, come on, you got to say all that.
Okay.
In terms of,
all right.
Also, in terms of, if your mama say, "Don't bring no girl home, she can't use my comb." You know what I'm saying? The identity, you may not have to go that deep in terms of identity. You see what I'm saying? It depends on the context of what you're asking.
Right. So what I do. Okay. So the only reason why we're having this part of this conversation is because of the issue that Rasan brought up. But let me back up a bit. So let me back up, because I don't know when you. I don't know when you came into the conversation. So here's the whole point. The whole point, and it's crazy to me because it's missed when it's being shown. The whole point here, not the whole point, but the main point is that the further down, I'm talking about on the the vertical axis, the x-axis coming up and down. Wait. Let me just get this out. Let me get this out, because it's being missed, obviously. As you move down,
being missed, brother.
Wait. As you move down, you're getting more specific. As you come from the bottom and you move up, you're getting more vague.
But if I've said that many times. I've agreed with you and understood that the only problem that I raised.
So that is the whole point. So now, if we're gonna dive into the minutiae of what I'm saying, to add things in there that I'm actually not saying, then it's gonna divert the conversation, and I don't mind.
No, what I'm saying.
I don't want anybody to think that this what I'm saying. Think I'm saying something that I'm not, just because I'm going to entertain this diversion.
Yeah, I think everybody agrees that when you just say African is very vague. I know that from just regular conversations, any African will tell you that, especially when you're like when you meet your fellow African person, like when you live in Europe, where everybody is black, is like they know that okay, you're not from Europe like that. You must have come from somewhere else. And an African person meets another African person and they ask you where you're from, and you say Africa. It's like very disrespectful because you're trying to be vague. It's like I don't want to, I don't want to be known at this point. So the point is that it has value, yes, but in certain contexts, when you're trying to describe or be known or whatever, identify yourself to a minute level, it's very vague. So we can all just agree and move on that it is vague. There's no way around it.
Yeah, context, because if I met Emmy Cat and I only saw her skin color, but I noticed something different, I said, are you African? Right? For identity purpose, because I'm thinking, are you African American?
Yeah.
So her saying African would be enough in that context.
Correct.
So it just depends on the context of the conversation. That's kind of
okay. So what you just said, I said already, because I said value is relative. And
all I did was repeat what I said from the beginning. That's the same thing I said when I first entered the conversation.
No, I know, but I'm just pointing out that the first thing you said when you entered the conversation was something that I had already said before you said what you said when you entered the conversation. So
there should be no. Yeah, so it shouldn't be no.
No, I'm not. Right, I'm not saying you're disagreeing with me, and I'm not saying I'm disagreeing with you. I'm just pointing out because the flow of where I was going with this was interrupted, and I don't mind it. So I'm pointing out these things, and before I even got to the next thing, I'm addressing these issues, and I don't mind.
Y'all been here for a while, so I figured this was trying to go. Like that's really why I got on. Like y'all been at this point for like a good little while.
Yeah,
Well, we have to.
I know you was doing something. I thought that was it.
No, it actually wasn't. So, but go ahead.
We have to answer the question. Who are we to each other, and who are we to other people?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, wait, Nyame, that's a very good question, but it actually pulls the cart before the horse, because in order to say the first person plural pronoun we, you have to identify the we.
Exactly.
And that is part that is part of this exercise, or these talks I've been having, is because we and I'm using the word we right now. We talk about this we without ever defining the we. It's like a perpetual and normal assumption that forms our premise in having a conversation like this. Or
I don't know if that's true though, but I think
my goodness,
I think what happens is that
there is we is ill defined. We is ill defined. That's why we're even having this. That's why it's a little bit difficult. We're having a little difficulty right now.
Well, how other people?
So hold up. So wait. Let me. So look, we have Emmy Cat on the panel, right? She is not only is she African, she is also Kenyan, and she's also Luo. And then I can go further down and say, okay, she's a female Luo. She's a Luo. Blah. We can get more details. So I want to have that understanding that I don't feel like writing all
this particular family or that particular family.
Right. Exactly. We can go in deeper. But so let me ask. So here's the thing. When you, and I'm asking you, Emmy Cat, when you identify yourself while in Kenya on the question of who are you, or you want to be known for who and what you are, will you tell your fellow Kenyan that one, you're African, or two, that you're Kenyan, or do you have to go below that?
I would have to go below that.
By saying what?
By saying I'm Luo.
Okay, now if you're talking to another Luo person, which means you're on the same level, same layer here, you're on the tribal level. When they ask you, who are you, where are you from, and you all are fellow Luos, now you have to go deeper than that, right?
Correct. I will go by clan or something like that.
Clan, exactly. So That's my point. My point is relative to what layer you're on. And so I'm saying that the higher you go, the more vague you are. And so what I'm saying is that on a continental level, that's not enough for identity. Because just because I say I'm African, or that a person says they're African, that's not enough. Africa is huge. There's a diverse differences of people. That's not distinct enough.
Wait a minute. Let me see if I can. Wait.
Let me,
Saying
me,
on a continental level, that's not enough.
No, it's certainly not.
brothers and sisters, good morning. Right around here in Brazil is
All right. Yeah, good morning.
1
Good morning.
a.m.
Good morning.
So it's good morning. Good morning, everybody on the panel. Hotep, everybody. Hotep, everybody on the chat. So I just got here I for about 30 minutes, but I'm seeing that what is happening the illustration of what Ujao is trying to show the whole time. The the topo African is so vague that we are in this problem. I I'm perceiving that Ujao is trying to push forward the question, because the part that we are African is not a question. When he talk about some two persons from Africa see each other and ask themselves who they are, and see as disrespectful to see one of them say that they are African. Is that what is happening? It makes sense for us around here in the diaspora to say that we are African, but it's not sufficient, because it's like the question would y'all like to say, okay, the Egyptians were black or white or aliens. So what? I mean, so what? We are African. So what? What we gonna do as Africans? What it is that to be African? So we got to move forward in the discussion, in the by the example which I was showing, that we got to move downwards or upward depending on the graphic someone uh, wish to draw, because the is it's not a fixed direction up or down. I mean, if that's a problem, we can move backwards the the diagram, and it could be okay. But the question is that we need to move forward in the question about identity. Okay, we are African, period. But so what? We need to move forward. We need to get to more details to be able to act, to effectively act. So the whole confusion that we are making is a proof that the African is not sufficient for us to act right now. We need to move forward. Marcos Garvey, I mean,
Okay,
Booker
I'm
T.
gonna get the
Washington,
floor. Okay.
York already did this job. Our job is to move forward in the discussion.
Well, this goes deeper and much beyond Marcus Garvey. My point we need to touch on the second part of what I said.
Mm-hmm.
What are we and who are we to other people? How do other people see us? See,
Okay.
that's the key.
Well, not really.
See, we can't escape that.
Well, hold on.
See,
Chill out, brother.
Okay,
Chill
wait,
out, brother.
but let's say this. Let's identify your two questions. Well, to your first part of it, I was saying that there needs to be time spent on defining the we, because this is something that people overlook, is the inclusion and exclusion of any grouping. This is taxonomy 101. You know, when you create a category of things, it inherits a inclusion rule and exclusion. What are you going to include? What are you going to exclude? So if I have a room full of 100 people, I say, all right, I want to create two categories. Men get over on the left, women get on the right-hand side of the room. What I did was I created, without saying it, I created an inclusion rule and exclusion rule. You know, on the left, women are excluded, men are included. On the right, women are included, men are excluded. So the we has to carve itself out And the we has not done that. That is an ill-defined speculative concept, but we use it all the time. And I'm saying that until we face that fact and actually tackle it intentionally, then these conversations are always gonna go around and round and round in circles. Now, to the second half of it is how people see us. There it is again, the us. If we don't define the we, then how people see us is going to be very, very sloppy and all over the place, which is what's occurring in the world to this very day. How people see us, and so now you're talking about endonymic identity versus exonymic identity. How other people see a name versus how the internal group see and name themselves. And so those are the two things that you're raising in Yame.
Mhm.
Those two things. And I'm saying one, the endo or the internal one comes first before the second one, because the internal one has agency and the other one doesn't. You understand? So I'm saying if we're gonna talk to it with the idea of agency in the conversation as well, then we should focus on the internal carving out of a group
Right.
versus how other people see us. Like it's like who cares? Like, oh, so what?
So I want to touch on something that you had brought up with Emmy Cat in terms of her being Luo and African and in terms of the value. So on the continent of Africa, fine, I understand that context, but globally, on a global level,
right?
Or let's say we're here in America, so her to say she's Luo and her to say she's African, which one would have more value?
Luo would have more value out of the two, but African would be a valid response because you're not talking to a fellow African or you're talking outside of Africa. Then a response with African is a valid response because now you're see, the whole thing is to work your way down. Is wherever you are, you got to go down. So if you start at the continental level, you got to go down. If you start at the global level, you got to go down. So globally, if you say Africa, that's safe. That's an appropriate response because you're going from the higher level down. But you can't go from down here and then say something above. And that's what she indicated. If I'm African and I'm talking to another African, we're already at this level. So if I answer the question of who am I or what's my identity, etc., and if I say something above there, that's going to be seen as a push off, disrespectful, because that means I'm intentionally being vague.
I think what he's saying is, and if you get the gist of what he's saying, and he's talking about not in Africa and globally, he's saying that the African will have more value because if you say Luo, in general, globally, nobody would even know where to even place.
Exactly.
See what I'm saying? So in that sense, he's bringing up, he's basically saying, and I agree that the African in a global context would have more value.
Well, okay,
it's not. Is that as well as the fact that there's a very specific history, whereby Black people in this country have been forced, to use only African due to an actual war effort, geared towards putting us in that position. So we're in a position now in the global situation, referring to ourselves as African while we're searching for the rest of it. Now there are some of us who have found some of the rest of it, at least to some extent, but most of us have not. So most of us, when we talk about, well, I'm African, they're identifying with the part of that, continental cultural identity that that they can still identify with, on the global.
I've demonstrated that that is not the case, where we can actually make that statement and it be true across the board. For example, if globally, if we're on a global now, I added global as a container for the everything underneath of it because that's how this works. So if we're off the continent of Africa and we're having this discussion, naming Africa, as I said, is a valid response. It's valid. You can't go from here and up. You can't go upwards. You gotta go down. And I don't think people are getting that. So I agree with that.
I think get that. I get it. I don't
Okay.
think does anybody on the panel don't get that.
I get it. I get it.
Okay,
I like
so
this
now,
taxon.
so
Everybody get
okay,
Right.
right.
I
So
get that.
so this is basic taxonomy 101. So now, as far as value goes, I'm gonna repeat myself, this will probably be the fourth time. Value is relative. Is relative to the context and the content of any discussion or whatever's going on. So as Inyame, as you brought up your scenario,
context of his scenario. Go ahead.
yeah. So with your scenario, you said that if we're in America, if
Which we are.
right, if we're in America, and someone says to you that I am
Emiket was Emiket.
no, it
She
was
said-
it was in Yame's scenario.
Yeah, she said, "Would if Emiket was to say, I'm African or I'm
Right.
Luo, which would have more value?" That was what he said.
Right. So
Us, let's say like if we were on it, like we're here in America and we were standing outside, we're trying to catch a cab, and you know, in a larger society, they don't see no difference between her being a Luo and me being. I can trace my ancestry back to the Temne people. I'm proud of that. My mtDNA goes back to Temne.
yep.
You
Yep.
know, so
So
they could care less whether I'm Temne or she's Luo. They could care less. They see two Africans.
Okay, so now they see two black people actually, but let me deal with your scenario with Emiket on the question of which one to have more value. Tonight, even Ross' son gave a scenario that he recently was involved with. Someone said that they're
Tonight.
was it tonight or
That was actually tonight. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, tonight. So Ross' son gave an example of an experience he just had recently tonight, and where I think a sister said that she's West African or African, and then he responded and say, "Well, Africa's a big place, sister. So you know where you know whatever the case is." So I don't want to be naive, or let's pretend that we're not. I'm not saying what I'm actually saying, or that we don't have to understand. I don't make this difficult for no reason. I feel it's for no reason. If somebody says they're African versus somebody saying they're Luo, the value is relative to why the question is asked or the content of the question. So that's going to depend on a case by case basis. But the point here is that you can't go upwards from where you start. And so even if Emiket were to say she's African versus Luo, that's valid because it's going down. Now, depending on who she's talking to, African may be sufficient. It may be suffice. That's done. Or they say she may say Luo.
But you
Here's
can
the
start
thing.
down and go,
or
you
even
can start
Kenyan.
down and go up though.
Say it again.
You can't start down and go up, right?
Exactly.
Right, and you can start up, down, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, if somebody like I was born, in Alabama.
All right. Are you there? Are you still lived in Alabama?
Yes, I'm still in Alabama.
All right.
Okay,
So
I've lived in other states.
Okay.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Alabama. Well, no, I can't say that completely because I was actually born raised first part of my life in New York. Going far as Manhattan, right on the East River, whatever.
Which state do you claim right now? If I were to ask you,
oh yeah,
right
Alabama
now?
Alabama is definitely my home state. That's where I was born.
Okay, so you don't make claim to New York right now. Right now. I'm saying
No.
you don't claim New York as yours right now, right?
No, I mean as far as family, no. I'm Alabama.
Okay, all right.
That's concerned. However, I also identify as African. Okay.
All right. All right.
And that's the problem. The problem that I'm having grasping what you're saying is that I identify as African, you know, um, you know, um, you know, in order to identify with the culture and people that I identify with, in the same manner that I identify with the house around the corner that my great grandfather built, you know, um, and I feel that same kind of kinship, to some extent, you know. Now, is that saying that there's not more that I could put onto that? Yeah, I could say Togo. I could say, several other places, a couple of other places,
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Africa, I don't see any problem with it. And I understand Africa, black people in this country who are of recent African descent, as you put it, identifying with that until they have more to fill in the gaps. And I think the problem I have with this, and I promise you I'm gonna go to sleep after this, is
No, you're not.
that where do those people go? Who where do those people go when you get rid of or render illegitimate their ability to call themselves African? Where do they go now?
All right.
Well,
Maybe I'm
John,
not.
I think.
Um,
John,
real quick, let me before he goes to bed. I just wanted to say that if we just don't overcome complexify this simple thing, it's just a good example is just to look at, like for example, Rasan, you talked about, I guess you've done your DNA and stuff, and you figure out you have ancestry in Togo and things like that. When people do that, at the end of the day, people always trying to go further down to find a identity that is more precise. Nobody's actually just happy just saying I'm African. You want to find out more out of that. Where does it go? So there's always an innate need to actually be concise with the definition or the identification. So nobody's just happy by being somewhere on the top, vague. Otherwise, nobody would even be bothering taking the DNAs and all that kind of stuff and trying to figure out where their heritage is from, because that is always just how, as a human being, that's just an innate quality of always wanting to actually have a more precise form of identification with one means or the other, whether it's but culturally, whether it's by genetics or whatever it is. The need is always there to be more precise and not just stand at the top where it's very vague like African. If we understand that, we can just move this conversation forward.
And that's a very good point. I just want to say that is true. I even used that before in the past. I said, listen, if you went to ancestry.com or 23andMe and you got your DNA sequenced and they reported back to you and all they told you that you were African, and that was it, would you want your money back? And the person, I was talking to two people, and they said, "Yeah, I want my money back," because the whole point is
you just got gypped.
Right? You got gypped, exactly. So speaking to Emiket's point, I actually did that to two people I was speaking to, and they said, that they would definitely get their money back, if that occurred. Which to the point of this whole part of this conversation is that the reason why they would want their money back is because that African identity that they received from 23andMe is valueless to them. Because the whole point. Wait. No. Not. Wait.
That's the problem I have with you, brother.
Okay.
Every
I understand
your
it.
true north, brother,
And I understand
is to render valueless the term and concept.
Okay,
African.
see, you're saying
my problem, because
maybe
that's
you should say maybe use the term.
And here, let me say this. I'm going to say this.
How about the term?
I think the problem is that you have a
valuable
political agenda there. You have a political agenda that's anti-African.
I really think you're reading into it too much.
Okay,
and
maybe
that's the reason. And that's the reason why we came off on this slight tangent, is because you and it'll show when you hear this whole thing backwards. Back again. You're rendering things into it that I'm not saying, and it's the implications that you're adding and stuff that I'm not implying, because you use the word gypped or scammed or whatever in that scenario I just get now. But wait,
conversation.
I know, and
Wujahu is
I'm
not
having the same,
anti-African.
and I'm having the same contextual conversation with you.
You
I'm
haven't
saying,
answered but you
in
haven't answered my question.
okay.
Whether
What's your
about
question? What's your question?
what about the people? What about the people? You know who who all they have right now
Uh-huh.
is that they're African, and then they hear Ujau telling them that's valueless.
No, but he's
No,
not
no,
saying that.
no,
He's
no.
not saying that.
Listen,
You're,
I'm not even.
don't
you're
say
being emotional.
valueless.
I'm not
He's
even
not
Just
saying
say,
saying.
that at all. You're
just say
taking it
not as
emotionally.
value. Just say not as valuable instead of say valueless.
Listen. I said not as valuable before. Whether I use
But
the
he's
suffix
taking offense to
able.
value.
Wait, if I say the suffix able or the suffix less or whatever, Rasan is gonna have a problem no matter what. Okay,
Yeah, but
so
you got to clear that up, Russell,
No,
because
come on, bro. Don't get.
No, but
But
listen,
I
you
do
can't say
think that
Wujahu is anti-African, bro. You can't say
Yeah, I'm
that.
saying, will
Wujahu is
you
not
they got.
anti-African.
will
no,
you
You got to
accept
take
not
that
as
back.
valuable, not as
You can't
valuable?
put that out there like that, bro.
but
I
wait,
don't
but
No,
take
wait.
that from this
well,
kind of conversation.
I have my reason to say. I have my
Yeah,
reason
but
for saying that
Yeah,
very
yeah,
specific, and
but that's
Okay, this is like
I
personal.
can
I got like a
quote
personal
reason
thing.
I say it, but I'm not gonna try to go. What I'm saying though is
okay.
that
I
there
tell
are
you
things
what,
that Joe has
Rasan.
said in the
I didn't
past
hear anything
that
that he
Hold on, wait,
said
wait,
where
wait,
it was
wait. So
anti-African.
Rasan,
quoted.
let's do this. Wait, Rasan, let's do this in the future. Whenever you're able to and you have the time, let's me and you one on one. We're gonna deal with anything that you remotely think that you can quote from me from the Amara Squad Facebook group and stuff like that on this topic that we're talking about right now, and we can have a discussion
Well,
about
there's
it.
a context of that I'm looking at,
Yeah.
which is basically a quote that, a quote from what's her name, from
Yvette
Ados.
Carnell. Yvette Carnell.
You remember the conversation? We actually had another conversation like that,
Yes,
where
I
Yo,
yep.
she took
Yep.
shots. She took shots at the whole idea of unity of African identity.
Okay.
And you agreed with her.
No, no. Listen, I don't want to have that conversation in a microwave fashion that you're doing now. I want to do screen. No,
I understand
because
it, brother. I understand.
we're gonna share screens and we're gonna either screenshots or screens or whatever because one thing I do not like and I'm a very tolerable person is to be misconstrued or misquoted. Okay, so we could do that in the future. I mean, and whenever you're ready, it's fine. That's fine. For the record, Wujao is not anti-African at all.
Oh no.
nah, he's not.
So
Yo,
wait. So what I want to say is that again, I'm just going to be repeating myself, but very quickly. Value is relative, and in that scenario that we just left from, the reason why I use the word value less is because I gave the scenario of I was talking to two people, and I said, if you took your DNA test and all they told you was that you're African, would you want your money back? They said yes, because it's meaningless. They said it was meaningless. I'm saying valueless because it's meaningless because they want to know more. They want more specificity, and I'm saying that for the purposes of identity, the value of that is stronger as you go down as opposed to going up. Going up is when it gets vague. Going down is when it's more specific. There's more value and specificity in this context than being vague.
Yeah, we agree with that. We agree with that
yeah.
part. Yeah, I got
I
no
got
issue.
like
I got no issue.
Yo,
with
Woo.
that.
So,
Yes.
yo, Woo. So, I think where we left off, yes.
You sound like a brother named Morpheus, but go ahead. That's crazy.
It's probably a New York thing. It's probably in the way, diction. But the thing is, we left off yesterday with the white girl and the black guy, and I wanted to touch on that. I wanted to deal with that, and
Okay.
I wanted to bring my African ancestry DNA into play to make a
Okay.
point.
So okay, good. Let's do that. But first, I will have a question for Sosa. And this kind of ties into the scenario of Emicat answered African, right? So if Emicat answered African, what you was that could be a valid answer. Obviously, it's a valid answer, but it may not be enough. And I'm gonna give you a scenario which is gonna segue right into what you're saying in Yame, where it's not enough. If if um if this person on the left said that she was African, that most likely, I'm not saying every 100% of the people, but 90+% of the people would not stop there and just accept that she is African. They would want to know, well, wait a minute, are you South African? Because that's what I'm going to assume. You're South African because that's the only thing that would make sense to me, by the way you look. And you're rightfully saying you are African, but yet you got to be me. You got to mean that you're South African, and so on and so forth. And what that demonstrates is that to anchor identity to a continent, you're losing all the specifics and all the other aspects of identity. It is a part of it because it contains it. So everybody who lives on the continent of Africa obviously are African, but that's not enough, because a Congolese and a Sudanese will lose their identity on a continental level. Now, how about that?
No,
So
honestly, she walked up to me on the left and told me that she was African. I would assume that she was a white woman and she was born in Africa. That's what I would think.
right, but she'd be African though.
I
Yeah,
bet your DNA wouldn't say
that's
so.
how I would. That's how I would
No,
place it.
her
I wouldn't
her
place it
all
on a
no,
genetic. You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
I
So I'm
bet you her
saying,
DNA wouldn't say so.
yeah, her
Yeah, I'm
DNA
saying I
would,
wouldn't
because
approach it on just
It
based
all
wouldn't
on
look
the
like
humans,
look.
that.
Yeah,
all
just
human.
based on. Go ahead.
I'm saying all humans have African ancestry, so her DNA would inform you that she's African. Every human you walk up to, their genome sequence would inform you that they're African. So that's a biological fact that nobody will be able to get around. All human beings, all living human beings can trace their ancestry back to Africa. Period. So she'd be telling the truth if she was African, even if she wasn't on the continent of Africa, not present like I am, present tense, am, is, are. She could say was, were, my ancestors were African. So
So
I'm just
let me.
saying, no, but I only showed this picture real quick because in Yami you brought it up and you wanted to go into this. But in my social experiment that I revisited last night, I showed a no picture. I showed a generic avatar, and I gave some intel, which is on the right here. And we could do this real quick, and Yami, you could build on it. Like you did. I'm gonna do it real fast. Let me just make sure that YouTube is seeing what y'all are seeing. Spotlight for everybody. Okay. So here we go. So just very quickly, just allow me to go through these. Just read this. So we have no image because I didn't. Now, mind you, let me say what this was. I did a social media experiment for a 2-year period. Okay. And this is what I did. I didn't want to bias people by imagery and looks, the lookership stuff. I gave a generic avatar that you see here, and I gave some information. And so I'm gonna read it. It says, "Hi, my name is Ayanda. I was born and raised in an African country. I have an African name, and I speak 3 African languages. I practice local African traditions in daily life and observe African festivals. My parents were also born in Africa, and my ancestors are from Africa." Now, with just this intel alone, with no picture, everybody agreed, or put it this way, nobody disagreed that this person, this female, was African. Nobody argued, nobody fussed and fought on the post or anything like that. Then I had this scenario. Person number 2, and this is a man, no picture though. And I gave this information. "Peace. My name is Anthony Jones. I was born and raised in New York City, United States. I have a Roman first name, which is Anthony, and a Welsh last name, Jones. I only speak English and a tiny bit of Spanish from my ex-girl. I don't practice any African traditions in daily life, and I grew up in a Christian house even though I'm not Christian right now. My parents and grandparents were also born in New York, but before then, a few generations of my family were born and raised in North Carolina. my ancestors are from Africa. Now I asked the question, so I gave these two profiles, and I asked the question. This was the test question: who is more African? So I want to ask you all on the panel right now, who weren't present last night. Who is more African between these two scenarios? Who would you consider as more African? So Sosa, I'm gonna start with you.
Based on that, you mean who would I consider more African genetically? Based on
No,
what
I don't want to taint. I didn't taint. I don't want to taint it. I'm just asking the flat question. Between these two profiles, who would you consider more African?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In order for me to quantify it, I would either have to put it on I would have to put it on terms of genetic for me.
Okay.
You know what I'm
So
saying?
what would your answer be?
I would genetically, I would pick the girl.
Okay, so now
based on background, parental, you know what I'm saying? I would link it like that.
Okay, so now, and that's fair because I got plenty of feedback the same way. But now let's look at what you did. You gave the answer, but you invoked the genetic level in your answer. Okay, so I just want to just say what you did, which is fine. I'm not saying it's wrong or nothing. I'm just saying that's what you did. You answered it by invoking the genetic level.
Yeah, because you asked me.
Yeah, the problem,
and you already said the first person already said that her her parents are from Africa. So
no, I'm not. Listen, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I mean the problem with the question is I've had Afrikaners try to tell me that they're African, which is
wait, there's no African. Wait, Rasan, listen. Wait, Rasan. When you're answering this question, all you have to go by is the profile I gave. There is no a mention of that's what I'm saying. I don't want to do the experiment.
Okay, I'll do the experiment. The problem is, I can't really answer the question with the information you've given me because when I see, for instance, when I
then you would not be a participant in the experiment. You would just have to excuse yourself.
But you can now. Just go ahead, make the tough decision, and just say who's African, brother. Like, come on, bro.
Yeah. I don't. Again, the problem is that you can't really say based on this which one is African because ultimately there's other information that may throw it completely, throw your answer completely off.
Okay, so now what you're doing? So
you can take this and infer. You can infer that the person, that the lady is an African, based on her, what she says and all this stuff for her background. But the question is there any other information that changes that?
Okay, so now
she could very well be a stark white. She could be a white person.
Okay, wait a minute. So wait. I just want everybody to witness what just happened, and this is why we diverted originally. So again, Rasan, what you just did, you are bringing baggage to the question and the scenario. Brother. Wait. Let me just finish. I'm saying you're adding baggage. Yes, listen.
This is experience.
No, man. Listen. Whether it's experience or non-experience or la land, you could have been high off some shrooms or something. I don't care. The point is that you're bringing extra stuff into it and complicating it when all you have to work with is what I showed. That's it. Like
based on the information.
You would make a bad juror. You know that you would make a bad juror
based on the information that you would.
You would rule on somebody's case based on things that based on no evidence.
No, you would be a bad attorney because you'd be clearly trying to bias. You'd be clearly trying to guide.
You would definitely be a bad juror. You would because you would enter evidence that was not ever entered by any party.
Can I speak? Can I say something, y'all? Can I say something, y'all? This is Nyame. Can I say something?
Okay, but I want answers first. I want answers because we only got to answer. No. But you were there last night. I'm saying whoever.
That's right.
Whoever's. Let me see who's in here. So we have So whoever was not here last night, I want an answer. Okay, based on the two profiles I gave only. I don't want you to bring your baggage or any of the biases into this.
Yeah,
All I
pretend you
all
never met Ujawa Rasan. Like you don't even know who he is.
right.
Just
I'm
all you
What
saying
are you
saw on
talking
the
about?
screen. Come on, bro.
Wait a
Just,
minute.
no,
What are you talking
just give
about,
him a
brother?
quick answer. Don't get deep.
no. Sosa, he already
No, actually, no.
excused himself.
What did he just say? What's he talking about?
No, I don't
Don't
know.
know
I
who
don't.
Joe. What
No,
I
I don't.
don't
I
understand
don't.
that.
No, I don't. No. That's cool. All I'm saying is that Rasan already said that he would need more information. So I want to go to the
All right,
next person.
all
So
right.
Marquise, if you there, based on the two profiles I gave, only who would you say is more African?
Well, peace to the fam. Peace to everybody out there.
Peace.
I'm gonna say which one. Can you go back to the other one because I didn't really get to look at that one that good.
Okay, very quickly, I'll go back to the first one. I'm gonna read them again because I
This is
think we got
manipulation,
I
right?
think we got
This is actually manipulation.
okay.
I can
Really
tell you why.
everybody
Wait.
I got him.
All right. Wait. We go. Listen. I'm open to everybody can get me.
so offended. This is crazy.
No, trust me, I got you.
Okay. All right. Here we go. So we let's give respect to Marquise. All right. So I'm gonna read it. This is a woman, and she says, "Hi, my name is Ayanda. I was born and raised in an African country, so she don't disclose which country. I have an African name, which is Ayanda, and I speak 3 African languages. She don't mention which ones. I practice local African traditions in daily life and observe African festivals. My parents were also born in Africa, and my ancestors are from Africa." So that's the first person number 1, profile 1. Profile 2 is a man. Peace. My name is Anthony Jones. I was born and raised in New York, United States. I have a Roman first name and a Welsh last name. I only speak English and a tiny bit of Spanish from my ex-girl. I don't practice any African traditions in daily life, and I grew up as in a Christian house, even though I'm not Christian now. My parents and grandparents were also born in New York, but before then, a few generations of my family were born and raised in North Carolina. My ancestors are from Africa. So now, between those two profiles, here's the very first question of my experiment from 2 years now, 2-year long experiment. I asked, who is more African?
I just like to say, man, like this reminds me of those games you play at the fair that's like rigged.
He said rigged. Oh boy.
This is manipulation,
because
brother. The fact is that even though I could say
Hey, wait, Rasan, it's not your turn. Wait,
the girl
Rasan,
sounds more African.
Yeah, just mute. At least
The girl
just
sounds more African.
I
But
know, but
just
Rasan,
mute.
how come y'all won't let me say it?
No, just mute the mic and then let everybody else.
You had your turn. You had your turn, Rasan. That's all I'm saying. Let Marquise.
I had my what?
No, you had your turn to answer. Now we're on Marquise. That's all good.
Brother, the fact is that you're manipulating situation. You're manipulating weak minds. What you're doing, because the fact is that question.
Okay,
you were supposed to go to sleep.
I'm sorry. Y'all The fact is there's a reason why y'all won't let me say what you're doing.
Yo, you bugging.
Nah, it's just
you won't let me say what you're doing.
Yo, we just having a conversation, my man. He's not trying to manipulate nobody. What are you talking about?
Wait, listen.
I'm telling you.
You bugging, yo.
Brother,
you too emotional.
No, brother.
I told y'all yesterday it was going to get emotional. I told y'all yesterday in the chat it was going to get emotional.
You don't know that we have been having this conversation.
Listen.
This is how you deal with this. No, let me speak with you. This is how you deal with this conversation. Right here. All right. In terms of
hold on. Listen, out of respect, with all due respect to y'all, right? I have to mute it because this is I don't. That's something I definitely don't tolerate, and y'all can dislike me for that, and so be it. That's not my intention. But here's the thing. So Rasan, it's not that you're being censored or whatever the case is. It's just the fact that you're being disruptive. Okay, so that's why, I'm saying what I'm saying is because you're being disruptive. We already moved on to Marquise, and that's very disrespectful to him. I asked him the question, and he didn't even get his whole answer out. So I don't think that's cool. So let's just have some order, and just we're having a conversation. It's like it's cool. Let's just have a conversation. I know it's late, but we could rock out till 1 o'clock at least. So Marquise, if you could continue, and answer the question.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate it. I was just, I was just making a joke because it's, it feels like one of those games, like, when you're shooting on the goals at the fair that are like in a weird shape, it's kind of contorted in a certain way. So, with what I'm presenting, I think just because of the fact that she also practices African traditions and speak African language, I mean, I would have to say she is more African. Even if she is white, I would still say that. I mean, I wouldn't have
Okay,
a problem
all
with
right,
that.
fair enough. See, that's an answer. So Sosa gave one, and Marquise, and so I'm just asking who wasn't here last night. So who wasn't here? I think Mika, were you here last night? Well, you didn't answer last night, so Mika, if you're
Yeah,
here,
I was here. I
okay.
answered.
Oh, you did? Okay, what? Can you repeat your answer?
She is more African.
Okay, and how about you, Zane?
Yeah, I picked Ayanda.
Okay, all right. So far, now I'm just polling everybody here. Everybody answered the woman except for Rasan. Now Rasan didn't really give an answer. Rasan, you need more information, and you feel that the question is a setup or manipulation, um, and everything, and yeah, and you yeah. So okay, so now I'm just going over the experiment because this is how you do social experiments, y'all. I don't know, if y'all are aware of this, but you know, it only seems manipulative when you add stuff into it, and that's problematic. That's a problem in and of itself. So okay, so now that we're past that, I'm just moving forward. I was trying to do this quick, but so 1 year, that's all I did is what y'all see. I gave 2 profiles with no image, and I let the comments load up. I think I had over 300 some odd comments on the post, and I exported it and I got it in a PDF because and I may just neaten it up and share it. But everybody that commented, nobody was really arguing against each other. Some people were felt the way by the way I asked the question of more African. So some people were saying things like, "Well, how can somebody be more African than another?" and stuff like that. So that went on, but everybody pretty much agreed who actually did give an answer to the woman. Okay, so I just want to let that know. There's way more people that agree with the woman being more African than the guy. All right. So now I came back a whole year later, and actually I forgot about the about the experiment, which is why it was a year. I didn't intend to wait a year, but I reposted it, the same profile text information, but not this time I included pictures, and so I said the same information. I said this is Ayanda, and then I gave this picture for Anthony Jones. And I compared the same people have flipped their answer. They switched their answers. They say, well, he is more African than her. He's so you not unanimous, but a more percentage said that Anthony is more African than Ayanda. So I did that not to find out what can that tell us? Like what does that tell us when we do that? When we have information and then we're asked a question, we give an answer, and then only thing that's added is something visual. And now we're gonna go a 180 against the first answer we gave. What does that reveal? It reveals that we rely on what we say on the street, lookership, way more. We value lookership more. It has a higher value on the scale than all the other information. That's what that tells us, without a doubt, because that experiment revealed it. Like I didn't make that up. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm gonna ask you all: Do you want to change your answer it once I include these two pictures, or do you still want to say Ayanda is more African than Anthony? This brother right here from New York, he played ball. He had a Spanish girl, learned a little bit of Spanish. He used to be a Christian. His further generations from North Carolina, but he's in New York. Or this person right here, who's more African now?
I'm saying she's as African as I am an American. Now, that's my answer.
Okay, so stick to that. So she is as African as you are an American. As American,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
So, but my question is, does anybody want to change their answer now? With
I would change it based on the fact that I quantified when I look at the information, I base it. When you said who was more African, I took it in terms of genetics. So based on the fact that I made the decision based on genetics, now that I see the picture, it would automatically switch my position on a genetic level.
Oh, but quick question. Was that I Am King Sosa?
Yes.
Yeah.
How did you base it on genetics without the pictures?
Because when the question was posed, who was more African, I had to quantify that so I quantified it by naturally thinking if the person is from the continent and then has parents from the continent, then I associate that with more genetic.
Okay, great. Dua. Oh, I was just wanted to say also that Zane brought in a good point. That what if you change the picture of the man to a white man, because that would have also passed, and then maybe this to a black lady, because it could actually go either way, and that's just to show people that, because I guess at this point, because people have seen that these experiments, so everybody's like cautious. But you just have to figure out, like, what if the other person was a black, it was actually a white guy, the picture after, in the second part where Wujao puts the pictures, if it was a white dude, because that identification, the intel that we had could have also fit for actually like a white person.
But what I want to say though is, Sosa, your answer is very telling, and like I said, there were a few people that said similar to what you just said, right? Both on both things, before being introduced to the image and after. So what that says though is that you invoked, and that's why I singled you out. You invoked the genetic level, even though you didn't have any genetic information. You had absolutely no genetic information at all, but you invoked genetics for your response, for your answer. And again, I'm not saying that that's wrong or evil or whatever the case is. It's just revealing, though. It says that this is what some of us do, even though we don't have.
Her parents
Mm-hmm.
were in Africa. So when you say, whenever you impose a word, it's like in terms of psychology, right? Whenever you say who's more African,
right?
Then you have to quantify it, because now you're asking. You know what I'm saying, based on the word more.
No, I listen.
I'm saying, listen. So my genetic came from, okay, well, if her parents are African, then you see what I'm saying. So I based it on, that's why I use genetic, because of her parents were African, and she's come from two African parents, and she's genetically African.
No, listen, I asked my question specifically the way I asked for a reason, and I definitely get why you gave your answer. So trust me, I know why you gave it. But what's interesting though is people who do give answers like you, or people who invoke genetics, they do so without any genetic information. So in other words, you're equating born in Africa with on a level of genetic, when that's really just nativity, and although that seems very small, that's a big difference, because there is no genetic information given. Just because somebody's born in Africa does not speak to their genetics or whatever case is. Because that's just nativity. Like, okay, I was born in Puerto Rico or whatever. I was born in Germany. You got a lot of military babies born on different continents, different countries. But we wouldn't identify them as German or Japanese, and all that kind of stuff, and everything. So I'm just saying that's just telling on that part.
But listen though, based on the question though,
Yeah,
you say more.
right.
There's only two routes you can go: genetic
hmm
or lineage.
That's
Native.
not true. That's not true. So let me explain why that's not true.
All right, go
And
ahead.
and so this is part of the outcome of this social experiment. Today, we negate, just as you have just done. You said genetic or lineage, but you ignore culture. And so we shy away from culture in the identity question more so today than ever before. As we walk backwards in history and back on into ancient times, culture was king, where a person would be identified based on culture and not genetics, obviously, because the human genome wasn't mapped until 2003. So they did nobody prior to that really had a genetic invocation in terms of trying to do this. But I'm saying that culturally, this could be answered on the level of culture. And so it goes back to where I have it. I had it here. So we have, no, where was it? Here. So we have tribe, country, continent, and global, obviously, but there's also culture. And so I noticed that some people invoke culture to answer their question. Some people invoke biogenetics to answer their question. And then when I showed the pictures, people just erased all that and just used lookership to answer their question. They say, "Oh heck no, she is definitely not African. The brother over here is more African and whatnot." So here's the thing. Now this is the follow up of what I did. I'm just explaining out to what I did. I then substituted this picture with this picture, but the same text, the same text next to it. And hands down, nobody argued, nobody refuted, nobody cried, nobody felt manipulated, none of that stuff. Everybody agreed that this lady right here is more African than this brother right here. Like nobody even argued about, well, brother, it's the problem is you asking about more African. Nobody said none of that stuff when I compared these two. So what that reveals is that we are so lookership driven in our decisions in terms of identity. We
I
rely on.
disagree.
Wow.
Can I
I
say
mean,
why? Can I say
okay, go
why?
ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So go back to the white girl,
Alrighty.
right? So now take her out. Well, put me there and put America in place of African. So we'll say, "Hi, my name is Robert Rand, born and raised in America, in American country. I have an American name. I speak an American language. I practice local American traditions in daily life, and I observe American festivals. My parents were also born in America, as well as my ancestors were born in America. Does that make me an American or not an African?"
I'm actually gonna do what you just said, Robert Rand,
Right,
right?
cool. Yep.
Uh,
So now, does
I
that
was born
not
and
make
raised.
me an African? I wish you had a picture. You could put my picture up there, but does that not make me an African?
Hold up, we gonna get to that because that's a good. So we're expanding the experiment. That's cool. So hi, but you probably wouldn't say hi. I'm just gonna just keep it funky. Uh, what's up? Nah, yeah, what's up? My name nah. I'm gonna be stereotyped.
No, you could
Peace.
put it up. You could say that.
All right, peace. My name is Robert Rand. I was born and raised in the United States. I have you had to look up what your name is. But let's just say you have a German name, Robert. and you speak and I speak English. That you say. Now, what else you say? Because I'm gonna type it in.
English. I
Okay,
speak English.
All right, there you go.
I
Wait a second.
practice local American traditions
Okay,
in my daily life.
okay, and observe American festivals and
Festivals.
holidays. All right,
Yep.
all right,
My parents were born in America,
okay, all
and
right.
my ancestors were born in America.
They weren't born in Africa.
Well,
You
was
want?
her? I, let's see.
No, I'm saying, are you? Is that what you? Because I would assume.
Well, well, the
Well, in
well,
this,
I would beg.
so to parallel you to this situation, I would have to lead this as Africa, because this is this invokes
No, 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 no,
or what's that?
no. She said her ancestors were born in Africa, but she can't prove it.
Well, we're not talking
She's
about
just saying
proof
that.
at this point. Well, I'm
No,
saying
well, I'm just saying. So I'm saying my ancestors were born in America.
okay. Well, that okay. How about your distant ancestors? So are
Well,
you
how about
saying?
her distant ancestors weren't born in Africa?
Yeah, they were, because all humans
How?
all because all
So
wait. I'm gonna tell you how real quick. All Homo sapiens emerged from out of the continent of Africa.
yes, that's correct.
Okay, so her
But
ancestors are from
but
Africa.
they all but they also mutated.
True, just like yours and mine. We all have different paternal and maternal haplogroups. So
Yeah, and I
we
want
are a product with mutation. So
right.
we don't so
But
we can't. Okay.
but we know that our A and B is only in Africa, nowhere else.
No, that's true, but I'm saying every haplogroup that is anchored to geography outside the continent was in the continent prior to that. So I'm saying the point is that tracing backwards wise, all humans can trace back their ancestry to Africa. So this is a true statement for her, and it would be a true statement for you. Like
So
your ancestors are from Africa.
okay, so when we look at my African ancestry DNA results, and it says that we compared parts of your maternal inherited DNA, your mtDNA, to the peoples from around the world
Mm-hmm.
that look for matches.
Mm-hmm.
Using the largest set of African mtDNA samples available today, we found identical 100% matches for you with the mtDNA of Temne people. This means that
Right.
at some point in the 500 to 2,000 year history of your maternal lineage, mother to mother to mother, there was a
Mm-hmm.
Temne woman.
Yeah.
Our analysis focuses on hypervariable regions 1, 2, and 3, HVR1, HVR2, HVR3 of your mtDNA. Out of the 3 billion parts of your DNA, the variants below are unique to your maternal lineage and indicate DNA sequence patterns that you share with some Temne. The combination of HVR variants determines your membership in haplogroup L3D. Your statistical confidence measures or sequence similarity score is 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay. So what that is saying is that your maternal haplogroup is shared with that particular tribe of people, group of people.
right,
Yeah.
so if you was to
But now,
trace her
hold up.
MT,
Now, I'm sorry. Just real quick.
no, go ahead.
Um, was that from Ancestry.com or 23andMe or a different?
This was AfricanAncestry.com.
Okay, AfricanAncestry.com. Now,
Yep,
whatever your
with
haplogroup,
kiddos.
yeah. Now, whatever that haplogroup is, that haplogroup emerged from another haplogroup, from another major what do you call it? A node I was gonna say a node.
Well, it's
I'm looking for the word node. It emerged from another node in the haplogroup tree. So it didn't come out of nowhere. So it emerged from another one, and then whatever one that one emerged from came from another one, and so on and so forth, going all the way back to on the maternal side, L0 on the continent of Africa. So what was your maternal haplogroup again?
I'm sorry, I muted out. My
Yeah, well,
maternal haplogroup was
did they give it to you?
L3. Yeah, L3D.
Okay,
Did
L3D.
you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah. So L3D is your maternal haplogroup. So it came out of something. It came out of another haplogroup, and then from this one emerged others. But you cluster in that mutation that they label as L3D. I mean. So what I'm saying is that no matter what, when they give us our haplogroups, all that's saying is that we have our ancestry, our paternal maternal line has a common ancestor that clusters out of that particular mutation, and then where the mutation occurred is where they tie it to geography. So whatever continent and so on and so forth. That's all. That's what that is saying. But ultimately, we all trace back to the continent of Africa. Even Iyande in that picture. So all I'm saying, I'm saying all this to say is that this last statement is true for you, just as it was for her. It was statement. So if we read your information again, your profile. Your name is Robert Rand. You were born and raised in the United States. You have a German name. You speak English. You practice local American traditions in daily life, observe American festivals. Your parents were also born in America, and your ancestry comes from Africa. So what was the issue? Like, now that we spelled that out, what was the
Right. But see, the slick thing you did is you kept Africa at the end. No, I want America. I'm telling you, my ancestors are from America. So,
okay, all right. I'm gonna put let's put what you
put
say.
America there.
Your
Yes.
ancestors are from America.
If you
But
put America,
I have a
the conversation if you put America.
yeah.
Why
So
not?
What? Well,
Because
hold
you
on.
change the nature of the conversation from an African perspective to the American context.
No, what I'm juxtaposing myself with Ileana. I'm just replacing the Africa with America. And my point is that, does this make me less African? Am I not African still?
Okay, so
In
so
other
here,
words,
yeah, so
so
here's the thing. So we have a couple of things at play, which is what I'm pointing out. And I know, see, this this has to be, this conversation has to be dealt with maybe a few times, because
Separately.
we have the level of genetics, which is a level. Then we have a level of culture. All right. Culture does not inform us of, genetics doesn't inform us of culture. All right. There's no gene that's going to tell you what culture a person is a member of. So here's the thing. Culturally, you would be not African. Nothing on here would cluster you with an African a culture, or share with an African culture.
exactly.
Culturally. Now, genetically, you wanted to take away the African ancestry
No,
for the
genetically,
sake of,
I am African, right? Genetics, I am African.
okay, man. Oh, wait, stop there. So here's the thing. So now, good. I'm glad you did that. So if I compare Sosa, and I'm speaking to everybody, if we compare Sosa to Robert, Inyame, if you compare them, I can now tell where your focus and value is placed at what level. So Sosa has a higher value, and I'm using value relatively now, y'all. Sosa has a higher value in genetics because that's what he leaned towards and invoked, whereas Inyame invoked didn't invoke genetics like Sosa did. So you have a different value. So you, like, in a hierarchy, you would write genetics at a lower level than Sosa. Sosa genetics would be higher on the ladder than what you would put it in Yame.
Yeah, that's a fact.
That's what this experiment revealed for a lot of people who participated. I can clearly see who values what, like where the focus is. And that's very telling. So now here's the thing. So if Sosa and Inyame had a conversation about identity and all this stuff, y'all would be at odds with each other because you all would be coming from two different definitions or perspectives, trying to meet in the middle and end up clashing because the conversation will go all over the place.
Well, put it this way. Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
What makes an African an African?
That's a very good question.
Does genetic trump culture, or does culture trump genetics?
Okay, that's an excellent question. And it depends on what layer or level you are to give an answer. And so its identity is multi-layered. So one answer will never be enough. You have to actually give an answer at every level and deal with it at each of those levels and not mix them up. So culturally, so for example, I am not an African, meaning that I am presently not an African. I do not live in an African country. I am not under any African governmental polities. I don't experience the weather over in Africa. Nothing is pressuring on me right now that would mold me for me to say I am presently an African. I have African ancestry. Somebody in my family was living on the continent of Africa and was born and raised there and was part and parcel of an African country, a tribe, a culture and stuff there was past tense. But me presently, speaking presently, I'm not in Africa. I wasn't born in Africa. I don't live in any under any African pressures from an African society or government or the social pressures. None of that.
But I don't think you can say that, Wujawu. One, your name is Wujawu. Mm-hmm. Two, you speak Medew.
Wait. That is a true statement. But you made a true statement, though.
You're entrenched in the African in African culture, though.
Okay, but actually, see, that's a slippery thing to say because if that's true, now I'm gonna walk with you. Let's say that is true, then if that gives me the right to say I'm African, then that creates a big bubble of vulnerability for anybody to say they're African. That we don't even like that. When if Europeans speak, you know how many Europeans speak African languages? If the fact that they speak African, because I don't speak Netcher, for the record though. I can read it.
You're just
I know.
You know what I'm saying? Transliterate. You're entrenched in the culture.
Yes, but here's the thing: I don't practice it. See, the study, because there's a lot of people who study cultures, but they're not part and parcel or practice it. Like it's not their culture. Egyptian culture is not my culture. I study it.
All right, well, check. But what if we switched it and we say we replace you with Sanjeti?
Mm-hmm. That culture pretty dead though.
Would it change?
If I what do you mean place me with Sanjeti? What do you mean?
You we switch places with you with Sanjeti. Now Sanjeti, with Sanjeti, they can say he's African because he's entrenched in the culture. He's actual priest. He's into, you know what I'm saying? He's entrenched in the culture and practice. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So would he be able to say he's African?
And again, so you're coming up on my point again, that you have to answer that per level. So culturally, a person who practices a culture and deals with that in their lifestyle and everything, culturally they would say yes. So like just like this woman here. Culturally, all day, every day, she's fully African. Culturally, she's African without a doubt.
But let me ask you a question. Wait. We can't leave that point. Genetically, she's not, and that's the difference between me and her.
Okay, so let's address that very quickly. So culturally,
who's that? Ran? I can't voice him.
It's Ran. It's Ran.
Yeah.
It's Ran.
So Ran. So yeah, I try to keep consistent with your username. So Inyame, but you agree culturally she's wholly African culturally.
She's more culturally, she's more African than me.
Okay, so we agree. So culturally she is African, but genetically you're saying that she's not.
And
I just want to be clear. And you are.
Yes.
Okay, so now here's the thing. I definitely understand what you are saying. But you would have to add recent ancestry on there because ultimately she is African genetically, like you are African genetically distantly, but you are more recently African than she is.
So now, if we were to trace her mtDNA, it would go back to Africa, or would it go back to Europe?
No, her immediate haplogroup would probably most likely be off the continent of Africa, outside.
Exactly.
Yeah. But as I said, but you gotta understand the way haplogroups work. They come off of each other. I wish I had the haplogroup map real handy. Oh, matter of fact, okay, let's do this. All right, hold up. Here we go. I got this queued up. Question. Quick question.
I know they're twins.
These two, see, you all right, man. How you spoil the thing already?
You know, Unc does this one. Unc does this one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. So, because I'm telling you, I had introduced this to the Amara Squad group on Facebook when this first came out, because Unc got the National Geographic, but I had these pictures. I got their whole family pictures. But anyway, these two women. So since you said it, these two women are twins. They're twins. They have the same mother and same father, and they came out the same womb at the same day, back to back. Okay, so they're twins. Now, but if I separate these two women, for people who don't know they're twins, and you ask them to identify these two women separately, everybody will never put them into the same category, no matter what category it is, but they don't put them in the same category. Some people say the girl on the left looks Latino a bit. Some people say some different things, but whatever it is, they do not put them in the same category.
They look nothing alike. Nothing.
Exactly. So, but here's the thing.
You tripping.
He said they
don't. Look at the mouth. Look at the mouth. Look at the nose.
The nose.
Look at the eyes.
But here's the thing.
Up by the skin tone.
But here's the thing.
No, I'm looking at the lips.
But listen, here's the thing. Genetically, they're twins. So genetically, they should be categorized together. So if we're gonna do what Sosa did and invoke genetics, in terms of just the picture, then we would have to put them in the same group, in the same category, whatever category it is. I'm saying, but is it got to be the same? Because genetically,
both the parents African, or is one parent European and the other parent African?
Well, both of them are American.
Well, is one black and one white?
Nah, see, that's what you see. I'm glad you did that too, because it shows how we can't resist.
I just asked the question.
I know. But even in asking your question, I just want you to realize that for some reason we can't resist to jump and mix the levels, because when you say are they black or whatever, now we're invoking the level of social race, the social construct of race. We have left the level of genetics, and now we're asking questions about the social construct of race, which has no biological reality, by the way. And you know what I'm saying? So we have to be on point with these different levels.
Do you have a picture of the parents?
Yeah, I don't have it handy to post up. I got the parents, and when they were little, and
when they were real little, it came out when they were real
young.
So
and all that. What are they? What are the parents? How would you classify the parents?
Well, that's the question that we're discussing the whole night is identity. So
You
no,
being
no, no,
funny. You
no, no, no,
No,
no.
no,
you
see, listen, no,
you
it's
being
very simple
funny.
because when you tell somebody how do you classify, we've already gone through the different layers. Is it nationality? Is it this and that? Like that's why, like we, when we talk
No,
like this, we're trying to make sure that we at least for this part, as precise and actually try to stay if we're going to get somewhere, we don't want to jump all over the place and pretend like we don't know what level we are on when we're discussing something, because even now we actually jumped away from the two people on the screen and started going to the parents and then going to the social contracts of the parents. So we are all over the place and we're not going to get anywhere. So I mean, I'm just trying to say that at least let's try to be like try to get somewhere with this for the viewer's sake at least.
Yeah,
I
I'm
hear
just
you.
all I'm saying is that's what this whole conversation is addressing. And see, I understand tradition. Traditionally, we grow up doing something, right? But it doesn't mean that what we do is the best thing to do or that there's not a better way to do something. And so I get it. We call ourselves black. I'm considered black. I call myself black, African American, and all the thing African and all the not all that stuff. But but is that just because we do something doesn't make that the best thing to do or that we can't improve? Because that's the case, we'd be stuck on stupid back in the dark ages and everything. So here's the thing: these two women on the screen, on a genetic level, they're in the same category. The moment that we start going above into the vagueness, we can start it leaves room for error, because now we can say, all right, now we got to ask all these other questions. Well, what's their parents? Are their parents black or white? But wait a minute, black or white? That's two colors. That's the social construct right there. Like we done left a level. Well, where are they from? Oh, now we want to go to the continental level, country level. Okay, they're from Brazil. All right, they live. What does that inform you of? Nothing. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. Now the two parents are not in the same category. I don't know what they are or what they consider themselves, but they're not in the same. We wouldn't put them in the same category. But regardless, these two women, are twins, but they don't look alike. So we rely heavily on lookership, and we just got to admit that.
well, I'm saying based off lookership, one would assume that their parents are mulattoes, or one of their parents is a mulatto.
I would not assume that.
Nah,
I would.
they don't.
I wouldn't assume that both their parents are African American, dark skin like me.
I
I
mean,
wouldn't assume that.
No,
why would you
no,
not
no,
assume
I
he has
can't
a
see
black
that.
father?
no.
Why would you not assume black father, white mother, or white or black mother, white father? Though, why would you think they both have to be mulattoes?
No, I said either one. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that two people that look like me would not produce twins like that. So I'm saying that their parents either are mulattoes, or one
Mm.
parent is white, one parent is black, or one parent is mulatto.
It's not
It's that
impossible.
I
what
mean,
What
you know
that
how
scenario gave
offspring
us,
crossing goes.
it's not
well,
impossible. It's
That
not
could be a
impossible.
recessive gene.
It's
You
not.
wouldn't even know they was related.
Yeah, I would think they're
exact.
just
This is
friends.
what
Like
I'm
that
saying.
would be my first thing. They were like two friends.
See, they look alike to me. I mean, my baby, because my
They
mom
don't
looks.
look. They
They
look
look
nothing
like.
alike to me.
They
So
got the
I
same.
wanted to ask a
They got the
question
same
about
nose,
a
same
white person,
style,
right?
same
So
face.
Her lip.
let me ask, if you had
But once you know how
if you had a
expressive
white person,
genes
right?
express
Hold
itself,
up, hold up real quick, fam.
that's a possibility.
Hold up real quick. If you had a white person, right? If we put it in the context of can a white American person not say that they're Caucasian or European? You know how we asked the first time, you said you can't say that you're African because you're American. You can say you're African American. You can't say you're African. But could a white American person here, they can say they're European or they can say they're Caucasian.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, say it again, because I thought you.
Yeah, he's asking, can a white person say they're European? In the context of how you said, well, I'm not African because I'm not, you know what I'm saying, blah, blah, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean it's universal. Like what I was saying a little while ago, as far as not being African, I mean presently. Like we say, if we say I am African, what makes you African presently, right now? And so, like I'm an American. I am like I was raised under the pressures of the American society, the American population, the American governmental structure, American educational system, and all of that. So 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 I have been molded by the American culture. So culturally, I am American, and since culture is king, in identity, for the longest period of time, I would consider myself American, as I do now. Genetically, um, um, well, recent ancestry, my ancestors were born and raised here, died here, and bones are here. Further back I go, I hit the continent of Africa.
Okay, so you claim cult. So you claim culture's king.
Yes, culture has been king all throughout human history until
Yeah, I know it has.
in recent
And,
times.
Yeah, you
and
know, but we also
that's
were
the
hunter
jux of the
gatherers.
problem. And that's the jux of the problem that we are facing here in America. Because as an American, and if you separate yourself from Africa, now you got to tell me what's your culture.
Well,
What's
I'm
your
American.
culture?
My nationality is American. I'm a United States citizen, and culturally, I'm American as well.
Cause see, it's crazy because even though I don't see culture as king, right? I look at it on genetic level, but I still would have the same stance as you,
But hold
even
up,
based on, even based on the genetic level.
but here's the thing though, um, culture has been king for the majority of humans' existence. That's how human taxa
So,
is formed. Hold up.
so,
So wait, humans have been grouped based on cultural criterias. It was never on genetic criterias because, like I said, the human genome has not haven't wasn't even mapped until 2003. That is a recent phenomenon as far as trying to go on a biological level to group human beings. Okay, it was only culturally um, up to that point, and then well, just before the biological level, we went into this social level, social construct level. That's a proxy for phenotype. So we judge based on people's looks. Okay, if you got the nappier your hair, the thicker your lips and nose, then I'm going to label you this. And the other way, I'm going to label you that. You
Right,
know.
but listen, on the ladder scale, though, right? We're using a ladder like you just did from vague to specificity.
Okay.
Where do you rank culture versus genetics? On the top or the bottom? Scaling downwards, or you know what I'm saying?
Oh, culture versus genetics is going up in the vague.
Genetic is vague, and you think
Yeah.
culture specific.
Yep. And here's why. Let me tell you why.
In terms of,
let me just tell you why. Because hold on,
who you are.
Yep. And let me tell you why.
Wow.
Let me tell you why. So
I'm listening.
Okay. So I'll use Kenya as an example, the country of Kenya. Kenya, the population of Kenya may be genetically the same population, on a genetic level, the same population. But underneath that sameness of a genetic population, there are 42 distinct groups of people who distinguish themselves based on culture. So the vague to specificity goes in that direction. The genetic level is vague because it doesn't identify sharp enough who a person is until you tap down into the cultural level. So genetics, although it's a very like when we think of genes and chromosomes, they're small, but yet they're very high on the taxonomic scale or hierarchy. It's high. It's not a low thing. Not at all.
Because with genetics, I can scale from every cat on down, even if she's in a different tribe. through time, she may not know different relatives that are spread about. So genetically, I can trace her and pinpoint her back down through her parents or her grandmother. You're her uncle. You're her grandpa. You see what I'm saying? I go deeper and deeper where culture would leave her stuck. I can go further down to the to the minutiae. You feel me?
See, if I was to go through genetics, and that's what we say, because when I say, okay, I am Luo, I don't mean I am Luo genetically. That also plays a small part of it, obviously, because groups of people tend to stay together. But through that, there's also, as you know, like intertribal marriages and things like that. So if I do, just like other Luo people I know who have done their genetics, what they will find is that they will trace themselves. Not with some from Sudan, they'll find themselves with a cluster of other Bantu groups. They will not be Luo Nilotic anymore. So, but they will find themselves in different parts of Africa, obviously doing their genetics, and a lot of people do that right now. So I'll probably even try to do my DNA test, and that will take me outside of Kenya into different parts inside Kenya and outside of that. So that also has, and we don't want to mix those things because because you have to know at what point are you talking. So if I start to identify myself with genetics, I'll be talking on a different level. When I talk about my,
so when your ancestors
which one goes
up, what were they classified as?
Was that a question for
Wujawu? Yeah, no, that was for Wujawu. I'm saying his ancestors back in the 1700s and 1800s, were they classified as American?
Of
Can you
course
hear
not.
me?
Right. That's just
no. I'm asking. No, not you, Sosa. This is for Wujawu.
Well, I
he
mean,
said he's no. He said he's an American. So I'm asking him he said his distant ancestors were born here in America. So I'm saying going back generations, great grandmother, your grandmother, her mother's mother. So, and those ancestors that came from Africa, were they considered American?
I apologize. I had I walked away and I only caught the last. I only caught the last half. Just to repeat it again.
Basically, what I was saying was that were your ancestors that were here in the 1800s and the 1700s, were they considered American?
No, they weren't.
Okay. So, what makes you an American?
Because the culture that I'm part and parcel of is American. When my ancestor was kidnapped, when one of my recent ancestors was kidnapped from somewhere in the continent of Africa and brought here, in that time frame, they're not pressured. They're not an American culturally.
You said one of your ancestors, not both.
Yeah, both. I was using one at a time, but we can say both.
Are you admixed?
No. I'm saying both. I'll say both of my ancestors. I was just saying one to just isolate one, and then we could talk about the other. But both of my ancestors that were brought from the continent of somewhere in Africa and brought here, at that time when they were brought here and while they were still alive, they were not American because they were not part and parcel of the American culture. They were not pressured and molded by the American culture. They were molded by the culture that they were a part and parcel of within their lifetime. It's just that
suffice
simple.
Suffice to say, they weren't brought here to be a part of the American culture.
They very well were as slave slaves wait.
No. You're correct. They weren't brought here to enjoy the benefits of American culture.
Okay. I could dig that. But don't say they weren't.
No, right. No, you're right.
I say, Robert Rand, the better question is, you're not American. Is that what you're saying?
No, I am an American. What I'm saying is that I'm an American citizen.
Yeah.
But genetically, I am an
Are
you
African.
an American?
Are you an American? Wait. Hold on. Wait.
American culturally?
Wait, look at what you just did. See, this whole conversation got a lot.
That's the thing. That's what we're talking about. So no, culturally, I'm an American. because I practice an American culture. Everything I do is I dress like an American. I wear American clothes. I speak
American
English.
language.
Yeah.
I eat American food. You know what I mean? So I'm an American. Culturally, I'm an American. You can't get around that. But genetically, I'm an African. And you can't
Okay.
get around that.
Yeah,
Genetically,
I
you're
think we all
African.
agree with that. I
Yeah.
think we
Fair.
kind of just moving around in circles now because we understand that we kind of the explanation was those different layers and everybody is given examples, kind of like Robert. Right now, you've given an example of at what point you identify yourself as an American and at what level you identify yourself as an African. So we all agree. So I think at this point we can definitely move on because everybody now
Yeah.
understands at what level
But-
they
but
use
before we
identify
move-
what.
I do not consider you genetically an African. You can be a genetically African American, but I will not put your genetic level to that of an African of a continental
You talking
African.
to me, Sosa? You talking to me, Sosa?
Yeah.
Me? I just read you my DNA results. You heard them, right?
What is
Well,
your
hold up, but wait. Robert, so that is okay. So let's understand something. And this is for everybody here in the audience. When we get these DNA tests, there are 3 stories that we can get back. One is the paternal deep ancestry, and 2 is the maternal deep ancestry, and 3 is the autosomal or the admixture result. Whenever you hear people mention percentages, that's only one story, which is the admixture or autosomal. When people talk about haplogroups, it's either maternal, paternal, and that's the deep ancestry. So African ancestry only gives you 1/3 of your depending on if you pay for the patrilineal or matrilineal one.
Yeah.
It's only
I
going
have
to
the
give you
mtDNA.
it's only going to give you 1/3 of your story. So I just want to point that out. So you're only
doubt.
dealing with 1/3 of the story. So
Right, but
me,
what I'm
like for
saying-
example,
Right. And
I
they
got
don't tell you, right? And if I'm not correct, African ancestors doesn't deal with who you are outside of the African scope, right?
yeah.
Specifically deals only with your African side there. So you're missing a whole lot of your meal from that plate. You understand?
No. What I'm trying to say to you, Sosa, is that genetically, I go back to Africa. You understand? My
Yeah.
haplogroup, it doesn't stay here in America. It doesn't stop here in America.
Okay,
So-
I'm saying who doesn't? Who doesn't?
You would take a Caucasian person. There, if they was to do the same mtDNA test, it would not go back to Africa. It would stop in Europe.
So you think it was stopping Europe? They couldn't keep going back until their ancestry reaches back to Africa.
Between 5 and 20,000 years. No, I'm sorry, between 500 and 2,000 year history of your maternal lineage, mother to mother to mother. A European person, mtDNA would not go back to Africa. It would stop in Europe.
Okay,
Now,
but
show me
see,
an-
but hold on. Let's clarify that, because when you say stop in Europe, it actually doesn't stop in Europe. It's just that's where the first node or their common ancestor is, but it actually
Right.
goes beyond that. So all humans go back to Africa, like their
on the
maternal.
right,
Mhm.
on a cellular level. I agree.
Well, no, I'm saying on a genetic level.
Genetic level.
But then,
Okay.
but then when you start getting into mutations, and her mutation, a European mutation, is not in the African continent.
Say it again.
If
He's talking about the fact that the
the
mutation
the SNPs.
Right.
So a European SNP would not appear on the continent of Africa, like I'm saying. So when we dealing with haplogroups A and B, that's only in Africa.
No, well,
can't
but here's the thing.
Go ahead.
99.8 or 99.9% of the human genome are matched among the human species, period. So even when we have that discussion about genetics, we're dealing with a very small amount of genetic information, which translates into an ocean of differences, though. So I don't want to try to downplay it. There is an ocean of differences that come out on the other side, but we got to keep in mind that we're only dealing with a very small amount of the genetic material among all humans.
Yeah,
So,
can I
so,
ask,
and
can
that's
I
and
ask
that's
we,
you?
and that's what I said to Sosa, that on a genetic, when it comes to genetic is vague. It's vague
yeah,
because
because
all humans.
do we base humans off those minor mutations?
Yeah, I'll fight the argument later. We'll go. I'm asking you about man. Your DNA. Have you done your DNA test to see who, what your ancestors are like more recently?
No, I
Like,
just
do you
have.
know
I
how much
just
European ancestry you have in you?
no. I've only done the African ancestry of my
Yeah, so
kids.
you can be right
I've
now.
only
You
done
can
that.
be 60% European and 40% African.
I very
but
highly
but
doubt that,
wait,
but
hold up.
it
So
could possibly be.
wait,
But what I'm
remember what I
saying is
said?
that
I was just gonna say, remember what I said whenever somebody mentions percentage, when he says 60-40, you're only talking about one part of the story, which is the nuclear DNA or autosomal DNA.
man, he's
Yeah.
being speculative though.
That's
So
no, that's
No, I'm just
recent
saying, like,
ancestry.
yeah, recent,
no, right?
recent ancestry, because you can't,
Right,
yeah,
but
because
right, but what I'm
you can't
but
go
the
back
reality,
so far without and
no,
get
but
you're gonna lose ancestors as further you go back.
no. But what I'm saying that so is that my recent DNA goes back to the continent of Africa. So genetically, I am connected to the continent of Africa.
I agree with that. I'm not disregarding that. I'm just asking.
No, but no,
Do you
no, you
know if
asked
you're
me what made me no,
no?
because the
Listen,
first question that you asked me was
listen to my question. I'm asking. Do you know if you had a great grandmother that was European or a great grandfather that was your grand? So I'm saying, do you know how many? I'm saying that's what I'm asking.
no, not according to my grandmother. I have no
But I'm saying,
no. As
I'm
far as
asking.
I mean, I'm saying it could very well be, but as far as I know,
I
no,
get, but listen, I'm asking, would that change your perspective on if you were?
no. How would that? No, hell no. That would
I'm
not
just
make me
asking.
less. No, no,
I,
that would
I,
not because we no stop because we understand that we went through the Ma'afa. We went through our ancestors were raped, so we understand that is a very that is a strong possibility that we're going to
I got,
have European DNA mixed within us. But that doesn't negate the fact
I
that
got that. I got that.
mine goes back to
Hey,
Africa. I am
wait.
a African.
Here's a question for Sosa and you. What is the average split autosomally, when I'm speaking of percentages, of the African Americans?
15 to 25%. Nowhere in there. Normally.
Is it because because I could be wrong, but last time I looked, it was it was roughly averaged at 70-30.
Yeah, 15, 20. I think it's 15, 25. We can give it take 70, 30.
Okay, I mean it may have changed because I know when I was looking into it, they pretty much averaged it 30% non-African shared and 70% African shared.
Yeah, I won't fight that. Yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of like the genetic blueprint for African Americans.
Yeah, and that's
Um,
what I'm trying to say. So but the genetic blueprint for an African, or what I would consider an African,
will be
right?
different. It'll be different.
Different. So that's why I'm thinking, like, how can then you can then how can you say you're African when that's the African American blueprint, and then the African got a whole nother blue. You see what I'm saying? It's
No, I
like,
got you, and that's. But see, now check this out. Now I know. I'm not trying to get caught in the details, but that's at a level. And so remember, one of the big takeaways is to be mindful of the level. So when you say that, there's nothing wrong with that, but we just got to recognize what level we're on. So to distinguish the continental person from the non-continental person, you can actually use the autosomal DNA to do that.
for sure.
And that's what you're saying, because when you get your genome sequenced, they're not telling you where you're from. They're telling you who you share your DNA with and where they are today from their reference population. So let's just say somebody is 70% African. When they say that, what they mean is that 70% of their autosomal DNA is shared by present day continental Africans that that whatever company they had it done with has in their reference database to compare to. So that's why people get slightly different results when they go from one country, company to another. Like I had mine done at Ancestry.com and 23andMe and My Heritage, and what was the other one? I think I did 4, and none of them match exact because they have different.
Who has the highest G pool for which particular area?
Yeah, and how they define their areas too, because some companies don't have the same demarcation of how they define their regions. You know, because I'm 13% Kenyan in my heritage database. I'm 13%. That's East Africa.
Yeah, I'm 13. I did my heritage too. I'm like 13% Kenyan.
Right.
And it speaks to more recent too, because as you go back, you're gonna lose. You're gonna have ancestors who haven't contributed any DNA to you. So you get a more telling sign of who is more recent in your family tree.
Exactly. They say that they don't usually go beyond 5 or 6 generations because it's so muddy that you lose identity, and that speaks to this topic. Identity using genetics is only valid up to 5 or 6 generations. After that, you there's no identity there. It gets all sameness. Period. That's just how genes tumble from generation to generation, which is another separate argument I'm not going to have right now, but I'm going to mention it. This is why I did a whole video on the fact that your full blood brother or sister, sibling, between the two, you and a sibling, you all have different ancestors. And nobody can refute that. I'm talking about the collective ancestors, not your. Now, obviously, you got the same parents and grandparents.
Of course, of course.
But everybody has a different ancestral makeup or contribution. So if you had a family, if you were into ancestral veneration based on who is actually contributed to you that you call your ancestor, you're not using the word ancestor just to replace the word dead or deceased, then you would venerate a different set of ancestors than even your own blood brother and sister.
Right. Recombination and such.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. The whole thing, science behind recombination. Right. So that's interesting. But listen, y'all, it is 1:45 and we could keep on going because I think this conversation is definitely going to come up again, but I think I'm going to initiate it every now and then because I think that it just offers a different way that I think we need to handle the umbrella concept of identity, and it will help propel the conversation forward because I find that we get stuck. We all get stuck in this ocean of mixing the levels. We'll invoke genetics for something, then we'll invoke the social construct. Are you black? Are you white? Where you from? Even to the point where New York versus whatever. Because I was born and raised in D.C., DMV, D.C., Maryland. But I'm actually catching up to the amount of years of not being there for the amount of years of my life of being there. And so I ask myself the question all the time, I'm like, man, do I consider myself a Washingtonian still or a Georgian? Because I've been in Georgia almost as long as I've been not in Georgia. I mean, from back home.
Yeah, same here. Because I'm Geechee, and I consider I'm keep saying like that. Soon, like, does my Geechee expire? So yeah, how it goes.
But
and with me, like, my family's Jamaican, but I'm first generation in America.
Yeah. So, and that's interesting. So your parents are Jamaican, probably are more Jamaican culturally than you are culturally.
Yeah, I only had like 4 years experience of that.
Yeah, so I'm saying it gets it's a challenge, but I'm saying I think that if we were to at least acknowledge all these things that we've been saying, I think it would just help push the conversation forward, and that's my thing. But I did this social experiment unintentionally, really. The second part of it's just that I forgot about it. But it was a year apart, and I can't. I mean, there's a lot of jewels in the outcome that informs me of where we are, man. I'm telling you. So anyway, I'm
You and
kind of close to.
Rasul, man, y'all work that out, man, so y'all can piece that out. Oh, that shit's crazy. There's a
No,
lot
no,
of
no.
tension there, but y'all need to sift through and work out, bro.
No,
My
listen,
man, he
and
got emotional there.
no, I
Wow.
and I listen. I still offer. I offer us to bring the conversation up because it's all deals with because you heard what he brought up. Yvette Carnell,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
whole ADOS
yeah.
S
Once he
thing.
said that, I kind of knew. I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. And listen, I stay ready on that. I have videos on my channel, Wajao channel, about the whole ADOS thing and what's what and what's not what and why things are said and stuff like that about the identity part. Because just real quick for anybody who had their head stuck in the sand, on the issue of reparative and restorative justice, you have to have a party to the restoration, and you have to identify the we. That's one thing that ADOS clearly set out to do and advocate. You have to define the we, which I mentioned earlier, which we don't do.
Yeah, you
But
can't get around.
yeah, you have to define the we, and that we, and I use the very simple scenario. If me and Sosa were full blood brothers, and Sosa trips up in a shelf in Walmart collapses on him, and he's injured, but he's okay. He ends up being okay, but he's injured. He can file a lawsuit against Walmart. Even though I'm his brother, I cannot be a party to that lawsuit because he's the damaged party. Just because we're blood brothers and all that kind of stuff don't mean anything. So I use that easy to understand scenario that people are like, oh, okay, I understand that. I understand that. Yeah, of course. If you if you weren't there and blah blah blah, of course you can't be in on a lawsuit and stuff. They understand that. So here's the thing: we have this flat blackness, like we got 40 million black people in this country, but you have to narrow it down to who is making the claim, who is the claimant, who is the party to this restorative justice claim. That doesn't include all blacks in the United States because immigrants don't fall up under that.
Yeah, and it don't include if you got injured at Walmart, your suit is with Walmart. If you got injured at McDonald's, your lawsuit is with McDonald's. You can't combine the two suits.
Exactly. You can't combine the two suits, and you can't just bring on family members just because they're your family. You know what I'm saying?
It's Joe, man. But look, I'm out too, so but good
right.
show. You know what it is. We'll argue again next time. So
yeah, hey, we're gonna get whatever you said we're gonna get into on the something you said. We'll get into it. All right, but I'm gonna say peace to everybody. I appreciate everybody tuning in and surviving the conversation. We hopefully you got some takeaways if you've been listening, or at least some ideas. If you did, jot some stuff down, and when we do bring it back up, because our next show is going to dive back into the Egyptian language and everything like that. But when we bring this back up, be on the ready.
Yes, so definitely on the next show we are going to finalize this. On a part 3, we're going to figure out and sort out that the rematch black or white, and that will be the finale. So tune in for the next one.
Are they black or white? Oh man, the finale. This is part 3 of the trilogy. All right, so I'm gonna say peace, man. I appreciate everybody tuning in for real, and until next time, peace everybody on the panel,
peace,
hanging out on a weekday. Everyone. We're gonna do that. All right, so Hotep.
Thank you, Hotep, everyone.